All right, let's get this show on the road. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the OneRing.net. Torn Tuesday is a little bit early today because we've got something special that we do every year called Middle Earth March Madness. Let me bring it up on screen. This year, if you don't know what Madness is, it's in America we follow college basketball, big college basketball tournament that always starts with 64 teams and goes all the way down to 32, and then the Sweet 16, and then the Elite 8, Final Four, all the way to the championship team. And it's a big internet thing to do March Madness things, but we've been doing Middle Earth March Madness before it was cool. And we've got all-star team of Torn experts here to take us through everything. So let's bring him in right now. Of course, you guys know Clifford Broadway, the host with the most, and then at the top right we got Jim Wirt and Kirsten Cairns, Green Dragon and Mad Eye Gamgee, and we'll be joined over the next few hours by some other staff members coming in and coming out to talk about it.
That's a dragon.
I know, I couldn't resist these. I found these yesterday. So my little green dragon horns.
Oh, that's cute.
And they even light up.
Oh my goodness! Man, that is the perfect green dragon. How did you ever find that?
I know, it was crazy. We were in some little shop yesterday and we were going out for a Lord of the Rings trivia evening, but also St. Patrick's. And I was like, what? I must have these. So,
of course,
there we are.
The chat room is live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. And yes, people are asking, is Torn Tuesday early today? Yeah, we're getting started early because this is going to be a long show, because we're starting Middle Earth March Madness. There's 64 seeds to go through and talk through. We're going to explain everything in a minute. So we thank everybody for joining us. And again, if you're watching this on VOD after, of course, it's on YouTube, and you won't miss anything. Wait, when are we? Well, Jim and Kirsten are going to take us through all the rules and when you can start voting and everything like that. So take it away, guys.
All right.
Yeah, well, it's great to be here, and we're only here for the first bit tonight because I think this might be a really long session, and we don't have the endless time for this. But Middle Earth March Madness, every year when it comes around, all the staff at the One Ring, there are a lot of volunteers who do many great things behind the scenes for the OneRing.net. And every year we have a discussion about what should our theme be for this year. So last year it was magical moments, and we had moments from Tolkien's plots. And we've had things like characters, movie scenes, locations, all kinds of things. So this year, the idea that we landed upon was that it would be art. And so I'm just seeing someone saying, do you hear the echo? I don't know if there's anything we can do about that, if we're creating an echo or... I don't hear an echo.
I don't. But...
Anyway, yeah, so the idea was art based on, inspired by, illustrating scenes from the professor's writing. And at first we had thought that perhaps the art of Tolkien himself would be in there, and then we decided no, because who's going to vote against Tolkien's own interpretation of his realm? So we decided it was artists who have been inspired by Tolkien's writings and have created art. Even then, getting it down to 64 artists, as you can see, it's like only 64 artists. It was hard.
It got harder as we went.
Yeah.
Because we kept discovering, and every day you see new things getting posted of an artist that's not in our tournament.
So we also decided not to include movie art. So you will see art from people who have worked on the movies like Alan Lee, John Howe, but we decided not to include, for example, the wonderful work of Daniel Faulkner that he created for the movies, or Ralph Bakshi's own art. We do have the poster of the Bakshi movie, but not art from the actual film. Or most recently, of course, we've had wonderful art in The War of the Rohirrim, in that beautiful anime film. But we decided that we would not include art from movies. So that was another kind of right, not that. And we're trying to narrow it down and narrow it down. Yeah.
Yeah. So we landed on 64. We probably could have had 128 if we kept poking. And we only picked one image for each one of these 64 artists. There are some of them in our field where we could have at least populated a whole region of John Howe.
Yeah.
Or possibly even populated the entire 64 just with art pieces from individual artists who are very prolific. There are other artists who only have one or two. Maurice Sendak is in the tournament, and he produced only two pieces of art as he was communicating with Tolkien about possibly illustrating the 30th edition or the 30th anniversary edition of The Hobbit. And that's all we've got.
And that was a cool discovery to me because I didn't know that. I mean, I love Where the Wild Things Are, one of my favorite books as a kid, but I did not know that Sendak had done any Tolkien related art at all. So, you know, we thought a lot about this, and yes, we're voting, but what was important to us was we're like, we can't, this is really a competition. So we didn't seed our regions this year, for example, because we're like, it's not really about this artist versus that artist. It's just the fun of discovering 64 pieces of art, wildly different pieces of art, some of which are old favorites, will be very familiar to people, many of which you may never have seen, never heard of the artist before. And we were like, what a great opportunity to introduce our fellow fans to some really cool Middle Earth artwork. So we were like, this is just a great opportunity. So I encourage you over the next 4 days of round one to really explore all the art, because half of it will be gone after
That's
round
right.
one. So seize the day to explore, and some of that will be tonight with Cliff and Justin and any other staffers who maybe join the live stream a little later. Really take the opportunity to explore these 64 weird and wonderful and spectacular pieces, and just enjoy and revel in them. Now,
We hope that you're actually going to discover some that you want to explore further.
yeah.
Where we have websites or links, when you get to the voting pages, we've included those for you. So you'll have names and dates, but also possibly, web addresses that will take you to either being able to look at more pieces of art, or in some cases you might want to patronize.
Yes, exactly. Support your artists. And a couple of the artists, or I won't give anything away right now, but a couple of the artists have kindly agreed to join us on a couple of future live stream chats. So we'll get to chat live with some of the artists. We're going to have a few giveaways.
That is so exciting. That is so exciting, actually. Very exciting. Yeah. I mean, gosh, I mean, not only do we get the incredible March Madness excitement that we do every year here at theonering.net, but now we're actually bringing in some of these luminaries. I consider these artists remarkable, talented people, and my gosh, they represent some of the best of our own fandom. We're a very creative fandom. Out of all the different fandoms in science fiction and fantasy in the whole wide world, I have a tendency, maybe you could call it a real bias. My bias is that we're the most creative, the Tolkien fans. And by all means, I think this choice, this excellent choice of going through wonderful artworks, really proves that point, I think. Really.
Indeed.
Now, one question that we get asked every year, and it comes up again and again, is how do I vote? Like, what does this mean? And
how are you going to vote this year?
Exactly. There's no like math behind it. You don't have to sort out some kind of spreadsheet and chart. You can if you want to, but it really is just, what do you like?
Yeah.
Pick for fun. If you wanted to, if you were like, these are all so incredible, I can't decide, you could toss a coin for each matchup. There is no rule to it. One of the things that Jim and I talked about when we were trying to pick one for each artist was, would I want this hanging on my living room wall? And there were one or two that I was like, well, that's terrifying. I don't think I would want it on my living room wall, but I still want it in the bracket, you know. So so yeah, maybe you just think about, is this, what do I like this style in particular? Would I want this hanging on my wall? But it's entirely up to you. Like I say, tossing a coin is also fine. Ask your dog which one your dog likes, and when your dog barks, go, that's the one. It's just for fun.
You're going to see a lot of different styles. There's pencil and ink, there's watercolor, there's oil, there's digital. So that may be, you're going to see lots of different approaches. And when we get to talking about our different 4 regions, we've tried to group them into categories that you may have a preference for: portraits versus landscapes versus there's a particular moment that you like. And so we've tried to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but at the end, it's art. What is art?
Yeah.
Well, I know it when I see it, and you're going to know it, we hope, when you see it, and the things that you really like.
There's a question from the chat room. How can fans afford to buy all the artwork that they're going to want to buy after this entire bracket?
Yep, it's hard.
A fair question.
Hard.
A fair question. That's why artists make prints as well as originals.
But you might have some of this artwork in your house already. I mean, some of these posters are very popular and what sold well. A lot of them might be in copies of books, editions of the books that you already have. There's a lot of ways to get art into your hands.
I can tell you the beautiful piece by Colleen Duran that we've included in the bracket. She very kindly donated prints of that for one of our events. I forget now, it was one of the parties in LA, and everyone who attended received a print of this beautiful work of art. So, definitely some of them are pieces that you may already have, and some of the pieces that you may wish to try and acquire, and some of them you may end up wanting to get tattooed on your body because they're so amazing.
Yeah.
At your own discretion.
That would be a fun bracket in the future. We could find 64 tattoos from the fans.
Yeah, that would be
judge
cool.
Those. Well, take us through these 4 brackets. Like, how do you even start to organize Tolkien artwork? Did you do it by book? Did you do it by style? Did you do it by?
No, well, the first thing we did was we came up with 64 artists, and then we collected probably 4 to 6 pieces, and there were a lot more than that for many of them. But we tried to find a representative sampling, and then some of our staff got together and just said, well, let's go with that one, largely on the what does Kirsten want hanging up on her wall.
Yeah, it's all about me.
So,
but yeah, we did, because we talked about, again, there are lots of staff who get involved in these chats behind the scenes, and we talked about what might the brackets be and how might we divide them. And it seemed to me that it was better to come at it the other way. What is the art? And then once we've chosen the art, because I wondered if we might find, for example, that we had an easy categorization of oil painting, pencil sketch, but that didn't really work out. So in the end, the titles that we came up with for the brackets are really just what we saw, and they ended up being kind of the subject. So as you can see, landscape environments was clearly, various of the pictures fell into that, portraits, moments from the story, and then groups and montages. Now, some pieces of art that we've got could have gone into several of these brackets. Some were a group in a landscape, or so we picked, but you're just trying to make 4 even brackets. Some images we clearly wanted to put against each other, like a couple of different interpretations of Morgoth, or that we're like, ooh, let's pit those against each other. That's interesting. So yeah.
Don't get too frustrated, we hope. Because
there's so much art out there. I like the task at hand to categorize and organize all of the artwork available is just an incredible amount of work. So this makes sense to me.
There will be artists that we haven't included. Of course, it was really hard, and like I say, in no means is this meant to be a definitive list. It's just a list for fun. But hopefully there'll be the opportunity, if people are engaging in our Discord or on the message boards on the website or on Facebook chat or whatever, if you have an artist that you love that we haven't included, share that with us. What a great opportunity to be like, hey, you guys didn't include this person's work and I love their art. So it's about having fun discovering art. And if you have things you want to share with us through our different channels,
I was telling Kirsten, one of the ways I was trying to get ready, there were a lot of these artists I didn't know. So I've been doing some research, and it's fascinating to see which artists in the Tolkien timeline are inspiring later artists. And so you'll see those kinds of references as well. And you'll maybe those will be coming up against one another, sort of the legacy artists and the newly freshly minted still trying to leave their day job so they can do freelance work for a living kinds of artists. So they're all in here.
Yeah, and we hope that looking at this art and seeing Tolkien's legendarium through the variety of different artistic expressions that aren't movies or TV shows will inspire you, the fans, to make your own art. And as we've been saying for the last few years, now is the best time to be a Tolkien artist. You've got so many, like Magic the Gathering hired hundreds of artists to draw original cards. You have all these new seasons of TV shows and movies and video games and board games. There's so much more Tolkien stuff coming out, and to be an artist right now, this is the moment to really hone your craft, get inspired, and maybe put to paper or digital tablet, things that we haven't seen yet. There's a lot of stuff in the Legendarium that hasn't even been drawn, but we'll see where those gaps are as we go through this tournament bracket.
One thing that's not in the tournament? Artificial intelligence is not in the tournament. No AI involved, as best I know.
Yeah, there are digital images.
Yes.
Sure, there are people who've used digital media to create their art, but we tried not to bring in anything that had been created not by an artist.
Which was another fascinating thing. As I was looking at these artists, many of them are clearly coming on strong for the principle of preserving artists' rights. And that was really important. So you're going to see in your voting pages, you'll be able to click on every image, we hope, and find who the artist is, if there's a link, what the link is, what the date is. So we're trying to do a good job at giving credit to all of these artists as part of this tournament.
And support them as much as you can. If there are prints available, if they have a Patreon, I mean, please make an effort to support artists, real artists.
Amen.
Yes, and I want to say how much I personally appreciate the ethos behind this choice. No AI, nothing of that sort, even though Justin and I constantly lock horns every Tuesday having conversations about what kind of AI is Andy Serkis going to use? Is he going to de-age Ian McKellen? What kind of AI are they going to use on such and such TV show or film project? And all that bickering aside, this really is about the artistry. And that is, you just vote with your heart. Like you said, Jim, is it art? I'll know it when I see it. Just like you said before, I agree.
Right. What does your heart tell you?
The real thing. It's the real thing.
So I guess the plan is today that we have not opened the voting just yet. What we would like you to do is stay tuned on this show. Stay with us. We're going to go long tonight. And we're going to try to show you as much of the artwork as possible. And we want you to start voting only after you've really seen all of these different styles of expression, right? Like, I feel like it's only fair to, like, take in the whole bracket and then start to make educated judgments on who you think should move forward. And saying vote for the best, that's not the only reason to vote for something, is it, Kirsten?
Absolutely not. And I mean, how could you possibly quantify the best in this? You know, it's like they're all
It's,
incredible. And
it's the Dead Poet Society scene. There's the
yeah,
long-term significance and the importance of the subject
right.
matter.
And there'll be some that are incredible art that maybe you personally just don't like, and others that are kind of quirky and weird, but they really speak to you, or you know. So I do just want to say quickly about sort of timing for voting and things. So you will be able to find this evening on Torn's socials, so on X, on Facebook, on Insta, the link that takes you to the Common Ninja site where you can vote. And there, as Jim's been saying, you'll see all of in the 4 brackets, you'll see all the matchups. You can click, see the images, look at them close, you can place your votes. You have, for the first round, you have 4 days starting from tomorrow morning. So it's available from tonight, but we're counting tomorrow on as like our 4 full days. So 19, 20, 21, 22. It goes until 11:59 p.m. at night Eastern time on the 22nd. You can vote in round 1. So make the most of that time. You don't get 4 days for every round, then the rounds get a little bit shorter, but you usually have 3 full days anyway. So up until the end of the day on the 22nd, you can use that link. You can go and vote in round 1. When we click over into the morning of the 23rd, it will automatically refresh to round 2. So same link, you can go back, see what made it through, and so on. It takes a couple of weeks. We end up on the 8th of April, I think, is our revealing of the grand champion. At any rate, we go through into April.
Yeah, Justin, if you click on the next page, I think we even have the dates on that next
We
one.
possibly do.
Yeah, if you can squint
Yeah,
in.
there you go. So yeah, so the championship vote is like 5, 6, 7, and we reveal on the 8th. We try to time it so that we reveal the winner on a Torn Tuesday. So yeah, you can see those brackets going on. So take your time, but you will be able to find the link for the Common Ninja on our socials. It isn't up on the homepage yet. It will be tomorrow. There will be a homepage article with all of this info and with that link. But if you're looking for the link later tonight, Facebook, X, Instagram, those are the places where you'll be able to find it and go and look and explore and play to your heart's desire. And as I say, as the tournament's running, there'll be more live streams. We're gonna have some special guests. We're gonna have some giveaways. We're gonna have some fun.
Now, help me with this before we get started on this. How should I think about the weights in my personal voting? Like on landscapes, am I looking for accuracy to Tolkien's books? Am I looking for realistic depictions? What should
Yes.
I?
Sure.
Yes.
Or you might be looking for the impressionist style that gets you into the Tolkien mood,
You're
if you'd
looking
like.
for whatever you like. I mean, literally, it might be that you say, well, I'm going to judge it based on, but it might be also that you say, that particular image is not at all how I imagined that character. And therefore, I am going to vote for it because I love that it's something different, and therefore, I'm not going to vote for it because it's not how I imagined it. It might be that you think strategically and you're like, well, I want this picture to win, and if I don't vote against that in round 3, they're going to meet, and that one might beat the one that I want, so I'm going to vote against that one. I mean, you might get strategic about the whole thing. That is totally up to you.
True.
And
You're going to
that's
see.
why you took out Tolkien himself as an artist.
Yeah, we didn't want that to be unfair.
We just felt that that was going to be a clear. I mean, it would be hard to vote against Tolkien, so we were just like, yeah, that's kind of pointless. Let's go with people who've been inspired by him. You could do a whole bracket or a whole contest of Tolkien's own images. That would be fun.
So we have
Indeed.
images, for example. Well, obviously we have a lot of images that Tolkien never saw because they were created well after he passed. But we have images which completely confused him. He could not understand what was going on. We have other images which enthralled him. and which he literally wrote letters to the artists back and said, "This is wonderful. This is this has made my writing just a supplement to your art." Was one of his comments to one of the artists. So that may be your response as well, and it might be really different from the professors. So
Is
that's the
there,
fun of an art.
if I recall correctly, actual royalty were Tolkien
Yes,
artists as well?
we have a literal queen in this contest. We'll identify her as we go through. And her art is remarkably similar to Tolkien's own.
And a friend of mine saw her in London last Christmas.
Yeah.
She was at the British Museum, and she's like, somebody, there was a kind of kerfuffle of security, and I was like, who's just leaving the museum? And it was Queen Margrethe of Denmark. And I was like,
Yeah.
she's a Tolkien artist, you know.
Yes, indeed.
She is indeed. And she used an anagram of her name for her art work. So.
Amazing, amazing. Well, let's should we dive into the first bracket here?
Yeah, the idea I think is we're not going to spend a lot of time, even in your extended time, you may not have a lot of time to dig deeply into each one of these pieces, but we want to at least do the quick flyover to give you a feel for the kind of art that you're going to be seeing, and maybe some of these first round matchups that I'll be really interested for you guys.
I really want to hear some of Cliff's thoughts.
How you react, because a lot of the stuff you're seeing for the first time. Kirsten and I have been working it.
Yeah, and knowing Cliff, your knowledge of the legendarium and your kind of saturation in it, I'm really curious to hear some of your thoughts and reactions. And again, a lot of this art you'll already know, but I bet there are a few pieces in here that you won't have seen before, and it'll be really cool to hear some of your thoughts.
I'm not gonna. I'm the king of overstatement. We all know that, but I cannot, at this time, overstate how incredibly hard you've worked behind the scenes to put all this together. I want to acknowledge you, but we can't go another step forward without really acknowledging the hours and hours and hours of the time that it takes, and reminding everyone again, we're an all-volunteer outfit. We're the OneRing.net, after all. We're not doing it for clicks or for money. We're doing it because we love the professor and his wonderful works. So my hat is off to you guys. I mean, I acknowledge you. It's fantastic what you've done. And I'm even more delighted that there are surprises. This is so cool. I am delighted to have a good surprise. Justin does this to me all the time. He'll keep nasty little secrets in his little pocketses. And then suddenly he'll be like, "Oh, surprise, Clifford, breaking news. You didn't know that." And I'm like, "Oh, holy moly. I didn't know this was happening." But yeah, this is going to be glorious. I'm totally down.
We should acknowledge Kalasuri as well, one of our four founders, who every year helps us get the voting set up with Common Ninja and creates the bracket image and creates the 2025 graphic and all this kind of stuff. So grateful to Kalasuri for the work he puts in as well.
And a lot of the staff.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, it's been really great.
Specific acknowledgement of Kalasuri though, yeah.
Indeed. Well said. Thank you, Chris.
Well, I think what we're going to do here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but we're going to power through the brackets and as much artwork as we can real quick,
Yes.
and then we're gonna rewind once we just power through and show you what we're dealing with. We're gonna roll back and go long on the show and start at the beginning and have a intellectual debate on some of this artwork, and that's when we'll tap into some of the knowledge of Cliff and the other community members here. I know Kathy's going to join us, and Josh and everybody like that. So we'll get some real, true, good insight on when we go back around. So let's power through this. So Jim, take us through this first bracket.
We probably don't need to go, because this is hard to see for most folks. I think it'll be more fun to kind of go into the individual matchups. They're all here, but and that we can just skip through. In fact, I thought we had skipped through that one. Sorry. So here's the first matchup. We'll use this. You will see this kind of a presentation when you go to your voting pages. You'll be able to click on individual images, And when you do that click, you'll find out the artist name, a sense of the date. If there's a link, that will come up. But this is just an illustration, in this case, of two very different approaches and two very different scenes, one first age and one second age. So the first is an illustration of something called The Downfall of Numenor. It's by an artist named Edviga Feiny.
And we know we're looking forward to seeing that in Rings of Power
Yep.
at some point, maybe in the next season, but possibly not till the season after that. But we know the Downfall of Numenor is coming in Rings of Power, spoiler alert.
So I want to go back, Justin, to one of your questions. So how do I vote on this? Because you've got two really different things. Neither one of them is a hyper realistic kind of a thing. You've got the spirit of Ulmo kind of overcasting the overwhelming wave of Numenor. And some of you might say, boy, I'd love that in my house. Versus over here in the fall of Turgon's Tower, it's got by an artist named Tom Loback, who was not only into this kind of very stylized art, but he was also deeply into Tolkien language. So you're seeing at the bottom, if you when you zoom in on it, you'll be able to see that he's using Tengwar script. It's probably even translatable as part of that art image, which is just a graphic illustration and very stylized in terms of attacking dragons and attacking orcs. And you got Balrogs on the bottom, and you got Turgon up in his tower. And if you're into the downfall of Gondolin, boy, that's going to that may be exactly what you want on your wall. So already you're up against a tough choice.
I love that this one looks kind of like a tapestry or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very kind of Bayer tapestry-esque, or, you know.
Yes. It in some way it does remind me of an illuminated manuscript.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah,
No.
and I think this is what the long form of the show is going to be in the second half of the show is kind of explaining the creative value of this, because at first glance, you know, these two art pieces, you know, next to each other don't, you know, that it's like one is obviously really great and the other one's kind of, well, I don't know why it's
maybe to you.
I think they're both really great. I have to say, I mean, I really, honestly, what I like about them both, and the reason I think they're an interesting pairing, is they both show events that your average Tolkien fan may not be familiar with.
Yeah.
If you're a movie fan, you're not going to be familiar with either of these events. They both are strange for your average Tolkien fan. Again, if you're a movie fan, with Ulmo, the spirit of Ulmo in the Downfall of Numenor there, it looks like more like Greek gods or something, and that's not very Tolkien-esque. It looks like a god appearing in the sky. That doesn't happen in Tolkien. So there's sort of both of these, if you looked at them, if I didn't know what these pieces of art were, I probably wouldn't guess that they were illustrations of Tolkien's writing. And that is really cool to me. They're very different, but they both depict events that a lot of people may not be familiar with, and they both are not immediately obviously Tolkien, and that's interesting to me.
And the Paul in the chat room is saying apples and oranges both are wonderful, and that's what we'll get into in the back half of the show.
Yeah,
is to highlight some of that.
We've introduced madness really early on, March, because we're asking you to do.
Definitely March Madness.
We understand it's not fair. It's not fair.
It was.
And so,
was it Plato who wrote about the fall of Atlantis?
Yeah.
If I'm not incorrect.
Yeah.
So there's a connection somewhere in this artist's mind about the downfall of Atlantis being a direct, parallel with Tolkien's Numenor, and maybe that's why Ulmo looks like such an angry Poseidon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love
that. So let's power through the field, and then we'll come back and debate all of them.
Yeah, keep on clicking. So you have a close-up image of each one of those two, and then we'll go to the next.
Keep going. So then next in landscapes pair up.
Yeah. So now again, two very different images. In one case, one by I think it's an Italian artist, although he claims New Zealand on his Facebook page, Federico Cimini. It's a very
Cimini.
Cimini. That's right. It's a very impressionistic kind of a soft image. In this case, it's of Roscabel. Um, we've had a bit of a Peter Jackson version of what that looks like, and this is really different from.
Yeah, look closely, and you can see a cozy little house.
Yeah, there's a little cozy house,
and that is up against
this really.
And now for something completely different.
Yeah, a Mary Fairburn image. She's still alive, a Brit.
Hurrah!
Hurrah! With a very stylized, very vertical looking pen and ink or pencil and ink drawing of Gandalf on the Tower of Orthanc.
So cool.
Yeah, he's very tall. Cool. You can see a very tall, lengthy, like
the eagle's kind of small. The eagle's kind of small in relation to Gandalf there.
Yeah, and I really like this because she put a perfect circle moon in there to let you know that this is not a stretched JPEG. Like that's the actual. You know,
sure, that's what she was thinking in 1968.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm sure.
So, and again, that illustrates that we're really kind of digging deep. I don't know if we have any 50s era images, but we do have 7 decades covered, starting in the 60s all the way to the 2020s.
Wow.
So big, luscious landscapes here. We've got Donato Giancola. Many people will recognize his beautiful work. The Walls of Moria, which I think is fabulous. And then we have another night scene. Now, these two are more kind of immediately, obviously comparable because they're both kind of beautiful, lush night scene, but really quite significantly different art styles.
Right. This one, Ralph Diamani, is a Brazilian artist. Okay, this one is fascinating to me.
The hilarious book cover.
So on the left is the Barbara Remington classic.
The famous Barbara Remington
This was the cover art to the first paperback of the Lord of the Rings.
Let's skip to look at that. There we go.
So there you go. So this is 1965. Barbara Remington had never even read the thing.
Isn't that great? I love that she illustrated the cover without reading the book.
And she wrote afterwards, she says, and she became a big fan. And she wrote afterwards, I would have illustrated this a lot differently if I had got a chance to read the book ahead of time. And then this is our queen, Margareta II of Denmark. If you look at this piece, it's very Tolkien-esque.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about her art is that you can really kind of see.
So if you remember Tolkien's The Passes of the Misty Mountains and the lightning and the stone giant thing, his illustrations there, you're seeing a lot of that same kind of a feel.
It's kind of awesome.
Tolkien loved her work. And so that'll be a fun contest to figure out who you're going to go for.
Definitely.
Okay. Here's one of our heavy hitters.
Yep.
So we've got Barrel Out of Bonds with John Howe.
Let's jump to that to see it as a close-up.
And there are so many John Howe pieces that we could have used. This happened to be one of our other staff member's favorites. So we said, okay.
Well. Yeah. Shout out to Ent Maiden. This was her favorite, so we picked this one. And then against that, this next piece, I didn't know this one at all. And I love that this almost looks like graffiti. It looks like he spray painted it. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spiro Galekos is a Greek artist. And so, and he does these kinds of landscape things. He also does a lot of dark characters. So.
All right. And then we're going to pick up the pace a bit, or we're going to have to go before we're done. Thingol Million, beautiful.
That's a Kip Rasmussen piece, also a very popular. Well, he's up against Jenny Dolphin, a German artist, as well. So a landscape, this is Thingol and Melian. You get Jenny Dolphin's classic elf in the foreground, but Assyrian. So another first age. Both of those are first age images. May not be familiar to a lot of our fans. As familiar, obviously, as the art that comes out of The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. But
and then
this, so we're showing Cliff, this is for you. We're going all the way back to the Ainu Lanendale.
Yes, hello, the two trees of Valinor.
That's right.
I
That's
I
a
remember this
Roger
piece
Garland piece.
with the henge all around it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the Stonehenge
Yes,
around that piece. But a fascinating interpretation of the two trees.
classic Roger Garland. I love this
Yeah,
piece.
Yep.
isn't
Yeah,
it? It's so great.
it's
And then
lovely.
I love the sort of softness of this image of Darren and Luthien. I just think that's really
Anke Eismann is a wonderful, relatively young German artist. She does a lot of things. She's had a lot of our
stop
work.
talking about them. We've got
Oh,
to
sorry.
crack on.
Sorry.
I
You're right.
will add one small thing. We did license a lot of images from Anke Eisman for our documentary Ringers, and
Yeah.
it was we were like, we want to help discover you. We want other Tolkien fans to know who you are. So we licensed a lot of her images for the film. It
See,
was lovely.
these
Brilliant.
two are a classic. What I would expect out of an art contest. They look
Okay.
very similar in styles.
Yeah. So you're going to have to choose between a less known Paul Gregory
Oh,
and
I've
his
never seen this
impressionist
before.
vision of Caradros, and a
Yes.
very well-known Alan Lee, and his interpretation of Edoras.
Wow, so evocative.
And that's a scene
Wow.
that's very familiar to us all, right? Because that is the vision of Edoras that we then saw on the screen.
But more. It's moody. It's got the
Yeah.
fog. Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
All right. And so now,
That's the landscape
next bracket.
bracket.
Next bracket.
Good
please.
luck.
We're into portraits.
So portraits, you can kind of skip through again.
And there are some so these are ones that I would definitely not want on my wall. The would you want this hanging on your wall test, but they're so cool and they're so terrifying and
What? Yeah, I see what your point is now. Yeah, I
Are
totally get it.
those Silmarils?
Those
Yes,
are
those are the
Silmarils.
Silmarils,
That is
yeah.
Morgoth's crown. You're going to see more Morgoths, at least one more. Very different interpretation of his crown. If you've watched The Rings of Power, you see a different crown. And then this is a post-corrupted
amazing?
Sauron. It's like he doesn't even need the helm to be frightening in this picture.
That's incredible.
yeah.
Wow.
Another couple of portraits. Goldberry goes way back. And then you've got
How dare
sort of-
you? How dare you put these
Yeah.
two up against each other?
No, Godfrey, that's so beautiful. She's my favorite female character from Tolkien.
Yeah.
And I think that's stunning. And then this Anatar, talk about the fair one. And he's like, yeah.
David Grisset one.
Wow.
It's a Frenchman. Sarah Morello, young Bilbo Baggins. A lot of her art is inspired, or at least derivative of some of the movie.
Yeah,
imagery.
we can certainly
You kinda
see
feel-
the influence of the Martin Freeman Bilbo there.
Yep.
But I love that image. It's very charming.
And so this would be an illustration of a digital image.
Mhm.
She's an Italian digital artist. Up against a classic Angus McBride Smaug coming straight at you.
This is such a cool perspective on that one.
Yeah, that's very cool.
D&D on that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally. That's a good way of putting it. Here's the Colleen Duran picture that I was
Yep.
talking about that she
Oh,
graciously allowed us
Colleen.
to give out prints at one of our events and a beautiful for any of the Lego lasses out there, the fans of our Leggy. There he is gazing upon Gimli's gift.
Colleen is one of the hardest working women in the
Boy,
world.
is she.
In
Man,
the
you
world.
look
She's one of
her
the
up.
hardest working. She's
Oh,
fantastic.
she's everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Steve Hickman, this is a very unusual interpretation of Galadriel. So you get a pretty classic form of Legolas, and then I've never seen a Galadriel like this.
One of the things I quite like is when you see an artwork that was created post Peter Jackson. I kind of love when they clearly have just gone, nope, I'm not going to be influenced by that. I love a lot of the ones that are part of Peter Jackson's world as well, but I love when someone's like, no, I don't see Galadriel like that. I'm doing her like this. It's kind of fun to see something different.
Okay,
I
two
love Tony
golems.
Hansen. This is so great. Oh my God.
So we have given you two classic golems. One who looks a lot more like the golem we recognize in Frank Zapata, and this one, Tove Jansson.
If you're a Moomin Troll fan, you know Tova's work from the Moomin Trolls, which I love the Moomins.
Yeah.
But I love this massive, weird. I just think he's adorable. I love
It's
that.
crazy.
It Makes me think of that bizarre, like 15-minute long 1960s animation of The Hobbit where Gollum was called Gloom, and that
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
So we are making our poor fans vote on two different Gollums. in
Frank
this picture.
Frazetta's style. What a cool style!
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There were a lot of Frazetta images we could have used that looked a lot different than that Gollum.
A freaky Muppet like Shelob. I think this is hilarious. You know the prawn, is he Pepe? I think the king prawn in the Muppets.
Yes, that is Pepe the Prawn looking. Oh my gosh.
Right?
You are so funny. You are so funny.
Shelob totally looks like Pepe the prawn. You know?
That's Joanne Wyatt. She's got a little book. It's weird stuff, but fascinating.
So cool.
So you got to
so
go
cool.
weird and very different.
This is
Never seen a
so
Shelob like that.
interesting. Very interesting.
And then a pretty classic Nazgul from Ivan Karini.
And I think is that digital art as well?
I think it is.
And
I think it is.
that's cool. I like that Nazgul. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's frightening if you look at the little guy hiding behind a tree.
Yeah,
It is scary.
exactly.
That
Yeah,
is scary.
the little
There
terrified.
he is,
Do you
the
see?
little
He's
hobbit.
just in there going
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, and so back to your first question, Justin, how does this strike you? And there's an example of both of those images are meant to be frightening.
hmm
Which one is more frightening?
Yeah.
It moves you, stirs you.
Yeah,
So
they're so cool, both of them. I love the depth in the Nazgul one as well.
Yeah.
Radagast, we love a little Radagast.
Radagast, just to get him in there, another Italian, Angelo Montanini, and
These
then a
both
classic.
look religious, don't they?
They do.
Oh yeah, Radagast kind of looks like Saint Columba, or yeah, there's definitely a northern saint look about
Almost
him.
a Saint Francis look to him. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, Saint Oswald maybe.
And then Jay Johnstone, this is his style.
I love
He-
his.
He does these kind of Eastern Orthodox iconography sort of thing. Frodo and Sam have halos. They're presented between the light and the dark. So there's so much that's going on. And Jay Johnstone, there are wonderful things that you can get on his site there. So
That's a cool one.
He
And
has
it's
such
one
a
that I
singular
have
style.
on
Yeah.
my wall right there.
Oh yeah.
And here's two
So yeah,
kind of black and white. Looks like
Yeah, more
Luthien
pencil.
and Morgoth looks like it
Okay.
might be charcoal, and looks like pencil for Death of Balog. Really cool pieces.
yeah. So very moody, and we're asking you to kind of pick your mood.
Again, a
Elena?
scene that
But again, first stage scenes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You may not be as familiar. You need to read The Children of Hurin to get this Death of Belig.
yes.
and then this amazing Morgoth.
Yeah.
Look at that with the Silmarils again.
Oh, and that's Luthien in the light.
That's
oh my
Luthien.
gosh.
Isn't that
Mhm.
cool? What
That's
a cool
very cool
piece.
indeed.
That's incredible. A bunch of people just joined us in the last couple minutes. Folks, we are Torn Tuesdays early because we're going through the 64 bracket Middle Earth March Madness, which is all about Tolkien art. Every artist that we chose only got one piece. So there's only one John Howe, there's only one Alan Lee, and there's a ton of art for here that you will be voting on starting tomorrow. And so we're powering through. Right now, we're showing you the whole field, and then stay with us. We're gonna go late tonight as we debate all of the artwork as we go back. But let's keep on moving forward here. Story
food.
moments.
Region 3
All right.
What does
Yep.
story moments mean?
means there are special points in time. We've had past March Madness
Just last year.
tournaments
Those magical
say,
moments.
What are your magical moments, or what are your big scenes out of the movies? And so,
So
in
these
some
are-
ways, these are these kinds of
Yeah,
moments.
things that we thought were kind of big hinge moments. And it may also be that they didn't obviously fit into any of the other brackets. And we're like, okay, but they're different styles, they're different images, but they capture some really pivotal moments.
Some are familiar, some might be really new to you.
So
All
let's see
right,
what
let's
they are.
go.
So, a couple of Boromir scenes. Boromir on Boromir. One of them's got to die, you know.
And then it's basically the same scene, but I love how this first one is again very iconography like. It's almost Saint Sebastian.
Yeah, it's
There
a
with the
Russian
arrows.
artist. Yeah,
Very much the Saint Sebastian.
or actually Ukrainian artist. Yeah,
Don't mix those two up.
I won't.
And then we have
And then a
kind of-
classic Matthew Stewart, Horn of Boromir.
Very much, obviously, inspired by PJ's
So
scene.
you're back to your thing, Justin. Do you want realism or do you want style? So,
Yeah, I love the debate. All right, but this one, they're very familiar. They're very close to each other in composition.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and which is why we kind of paired them. So you get a lot of a sort of a, I don't know if it's a watercolor or a more of a
They both look to me
charcoal
like they might be pastels.
yeah.
Both of these look like they might be pastels or chalk.
Um,
And again, early in the Legendarium, scenes much earlier in the Legendarium, all the way back to the beginning in our second one here. And how often do you see Ulmo chatting to someone on the shore? We wanted to represent
is-
Jeff as well, R.I.P. Jeff Murray.
Jeff
who just
Murray's
passed not
your,
long ago.
your friend, 2015. This was one of the last things he did, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, a really special guy.
And then this
but
really cool kind of abstract, the next one.
Yeah, of the creation and the
Mhm.
Ainur, the Valar and the Maiar gathering to create the world.
Kind of cool.
This reminds me of the opening of Fantasia, the Toccata and Fugue, which is just pure abstraction.
Mhm. I like
It reminds
that.
me a bit of that. It does.
I was, you know, that the rumors, the Green Dragon gossip for season 2 of Rings of Power had this scene. Obviously, they didn't do it. Those rumors prove false. But this image alone makes me wish that they had done it, like in such a creative, colorful fashion. Could have been really fun to watch.
All right, let's keep whipping through these.
A really cool piece called "Rescue from Wolves"
I love
by
this
Michael
one.
Haig.
Yeah, I love this one.
I think this was going on Kirsten's wall.
I like the Starry Sky. I'm a big fan
Sky.
of Starry Sky images, so this was definitely a one that I loved. That Starry Sky.
Michael Haig was primarily a children's book illustrator, and you can kind of tell it has that sort of a magical feel to it.
I love that.
Up against.
I like this. I like this as well, though.
This is art within art. I love that Goldberry's framed behind this picture.
Do you think there's a portrait of Goldberry behind them?
Could be.
I thought it was a doorway.
Oh, maybe.
But who knows?
I thought it was a doorway. Yeah.
You get to interpret.
But what I love is that Tom has the ring on his finger.
And the shocked look of our little hobbits.
Wow.
Like, what?
That's good.
Another gorgeous gloom.
That's right.
But two really cool black and white images. I love this Tom. I was at a Tolkien quiz night last night, and the quiz mistress called him Tom Biboldi. So henceforth he is Tom Biboldi. But I love this black and white and the shadow and the depth to it. And then we've got another amazing black and white image in our massive golem in this one. Look at him. He's just so cool.
Another frog-like golem.
I don't think so big.
Totally crazy.
I know.
That's the golem that I would be terrified would eat me and would follow through on the threat of eating me. Yes.
He's the creature from the Black Lagoon, you know.
Yes.
Similar color palette for these two, and again, big, epic, sweeping battle type scenes. Eagles arriving at Mount Doom, Beorn tearing into the Battle of the Five Armies. Again, sort of vital, pivotal story moments. Quite similar style of images. Might be quite hard to choose between them. Maybe you pick based on what your preferred story moment is.
Right. So you pick on your moment. You could pick on your artist. Both of these artists are not very familiar in the Tolkien community. They are very prolific in the fantasy art area, and which means you almost have to have some Tolkien in your portfolio.
And there's Daniel Govar, who coincidentally did the illustrations for our book from theonering.net, The People's Guide to J.R.R. Tolkien.
So you can let that encourage you to vote for or against.
Yes.
Here's one of my favorites in the whole thing. Well, not the Frodo and Shelob. It is an amazing picture, but I'm not a fan of spiders. But look how awesome that Mumak is. That is just such a wonderful children's book illustration style piece.
Yes.
I just think that's
so
cool.
that's core block. They actually did entire calendars in the 80s, I think it was. I know.
It might be later. I don't know.
But it was controversial because a lot of people did not like core block's approach. Tolkien bought a core block piece. He liked it so much.
That's cool. Those are great.
So there you go.
Oh, is that Daryl K. Sweet at doing the White Sapling?
Yes, it is. So you
Oh
got
my
Daryl
goodness.
Sweet on the right, and you've got another good friend of well, he's a good friend of Dragon Con. Justin Gerard does Karkaroth. So
Yes.
you're getting that classic Baron and Luthien scene confronting this gigantic wolf, the Karkaroth.
And then I love how the Daryl Sweet is just so not what we now, because we're so familiar with PJ's version. We don't expect to see that at all. We don't see this scene in PJ's films, but we do not expect to see Aragorn dressed like this, and I just love it.
And his hat, especially.
Yeah.
Daryl Sweet can get away with so many interesting things. He's. I love his details. I do. I love his work.
That is so late 70s, early 80s Aragorn.
Yeah.
And he was influenced. I mean, this is the same era as another one that's coming up in the Hildebrand.
I love this Smaug. It's very heraldic. He looks like a lion rampant or something, the Smaug there. Yeah. That's just, that's such a fun piece. And then this beautiful, this would go on my wall. Talk about starry skies, starry night skies.
Another one of our heavy hitters in Ted Nasmith, who's prolific.
Wow.
Almost one of the guys who worked on the film with Alan Lee and John
Ted's
Howe.
work is beautiful.
But he had other things going on and he couldn't do it.
All right, we got one more bracket. How are we for time?
Well, Jim and I are going to have to peace out shortly, but let's race through this bracket.
Let's get through the bracket.
All right, let's do it.
Explorations groups. Little Rivers of the Shire, how adorable is that?
Number one, you're seeing we're classifying two people as a group. In both of these, the ones that are up against me. You'll see a lot bigger groups, but it's a technicality. And this is a good illustration. We could have put these in other places, but we kind of love these.
I think it looks like they're playing poo sticks on the bridge there, and I just think that's adorable. Frodo and Sam playing poo sticks. And this Maurice
Sendak. Here's your Maurice Sendak.
So cool. Didn't know he'd done any Tolkien.
This is the coolest. This is the coolest. Yeah, I love this.
All right. And then let's just keep going through these.
Yeah, the Unexpected Holiday is actually a direct translation of the check at the bottom of that piece. And so that is exactly what it says.
But like festivity, holiday as in a holy day of festivity. So it's our unexpected party.
And that's from a Czech illustrated Hobbit from 1991.
Isn't that cool? There's your little Hobbiton.
Yep.
Hobbiton.
Yeah,
I like it.
There it is. I think that's amazing. I love it. And this is just so
John
rich.
Is unbelievable. His art is like stained glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the stained glass guy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's
I don't know if he actually makes stained glass, this guy, but his art looks like stained glass, sure.
And it rewards very close examination.
I love it.
Poster from Bakshi's movie.
Tom Young.
So we mentioned at the beginning, for those who are joining us late, that we did not include in our brackets any actual movie art. So you will not see beautiful images from the War of the Rohirrim or from Bakshi's movie or nothing that was actually from the movies. But we cheated slightly because we did want to acknowledge the Bakshi movie, and we thought, well, poster art isn't actually from the movie. So this is the art that Tom Young did for Bakshi's Lord
It's
of the Rings
glorious.
movie.
I have Ralph's signature, his autograph on that very poster in my master bedroom.
That's great.
Fabulous.
Love it.
It's on your wall.
Love it.
I have this in the opposite wall. Both of these pieces are in my master bedroom, opposite each other.
Voting,
oh my gosh.
Cliff.
You can only pick one.
We had you in mind.
How did you put both of these together? Oh my gosh.
I
Okay.
know that poster, the James Corty one here, was a real classic poster that lots of people had. It's such a cool piece of art.
It's mostly known as a rock artist.
Yeah.
He did some art.
Jerry Vanderstelt is a good friend of the OneRing.net, and his montages are spectacular. Again, in the past, he has generously given us prints that we've used as prizes and giveaways and things, and that is just stunning. Obviously, it's Peter Jackson's interpretation, but it's Jerry Vanderstelt's rendering of. I mean, it looks photographic, and it's not. It's just astonishing artwork. Really, really beautiful.
That's
art
hand
from-
painted. We've watched him do it. It's hand painted.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's
Brilliant.
absolutely astonishing. And then I kind of love this colorful, cartoony.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just such a cool piece.
Again, Rhett Whittington, a lot younger artist, well, some younger. It's not like
Look almost like
Gary's all that old, but yeah.
they're like
I
little
want the
Funko Pops
video
or
game
something.
of this
I know,
art
right?
style. Like it looks. So
It is more of a
cool.
video game style. You got it. Exactly.
It's cool. Very cool.
The Scouring of the Shire, a guy named Michael Herring. He actually he did a lot of Tolkien work up to the late 80s, and then he moved on to other things. But this is another scene that we never saw
In the movies.
in the movies.
That was in
lots
one of my
angry
Tolkien
hunts.
calendars. A lot of these images
Yep.
I've seen from
Yes.
my Tolkien calendars that I've got a collection of. Yes.
You are
Yeah.
right. That is correct.
Whoa,
This
This is a
wow.
new one.
Wow.
Eric Belhagen, The Encounter at Amansul. You know, this is probably on some playable card somewhere. It has
It's
that
so
kind
cool.
of a feel.
Yeah.
So dramatic
Wow.
and
Yeah.
intense.
I've never seen that before. That's wild. That's really cool.
The Fellowship is a classic Pauline Baines.
Yeah.
Tolkien's and C.S. Lewis's go-to illustrator.
Yes.
And she did a lot of work before The Lord of the Rings was published on some of Tolkien's earlier and minor works. Like
I like the
Farmer's
rear view of the
Giles.
Fellowship. I think that's cute.
A
That
very
we're seeing them
unusual one.
walking away. And that is up against
It's fabulous.
A relatively new artist.
the
Jemima Catlin.
illustrated Hobbit of Jemima's came out not that long ago, and some really cool images. I like the animals gathered at bay. Oh,
I
this
like
is
the
cute.
dog in the top right. That's fun. Oh man, I can't wait to dive into that one. Oh,
It's
but
so
these are
cute.
great. You know, we'll get into it later in the show, but these
Yeah.
are beautiful pieces of artwork. The Hildebrandt brothers.
The Hildebrand.
So Hildebrandt defined Tolkien art in the 70s.
Yep, lots of
Yep.
people will be very familiar with the Hildebrandt brothers.
That
And yet,
background
back
is so
in the
Avon
Bible-
Earl, very Avon Earl background. If you know the stuff that he did for
Yeah.
Disney Studios and Sleeping Beauty, that's what Hildebrandt brothers were doing there.
Totally.
Love it.
David Wenzel is a glorious person. If
And
you-
I love this kind of, again, this sort of colorful children's book illustration type feel of this. It's
Well,
beautiful.
David Wenzel did the comic book adaptation. I mean,
Yeah,
there's so
exactly.
few graphic novel adaptations of Tolkien.
Yeah.
This was one of the best ones. Was David Wenzel?
And our last pair up, I believe. Now, there were many. So my favorite chapter in all of Tolkien is the Barrow Whites, Bog on the Barrow Down. And there were many Barrow White images we looked at, and I kind of wanted to include them all. But this is the
Yeah.
one that came in the end. I love, again, it's got that kind of medieval look. This very terrifying hand creeping in at the side. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
that's
it is
crazy.
Up against the last image that we're
The
gonna see.
last image in the contest, Ian Miller's Ents 2. Now, he
Wow.
did a lot of work for David Day's stuff. So if you've got any of David Day's books, you're going to recognize his style.
Okay.
So-
That may be a positive or a negative for you. So you get to decide.
Jim and I have to peace out, but before we go, I just want to recap because I know some people have joined partway through this. So just a very quick recap, and then Justin and Cliff will bring you up to speed if more people join later, etc., etc. But Middle Earth March Madness, we do it every year. We do it for fun. This year the theme is Art of Middle Earth. It is all artists, 64 different artists, one piece only from each artist that we chose, all of whom have created images based on, inspired by, depicting Tolkien's Legendarium. It's all a bit of fun. You vote on as your heart tells you. Choose how you will. It's going to be tough. There will be artists we haven't been able to include because we only had 64. There will be pieces we haven't been able to include.
A lot of people.
Share with us on Discord, on our Facebook chat. Share with us artists that you think we should have included. It's an opportunity for us all to explore the absolute embarrassment of riches that is out there of Tolkien art, and you will see some pieces you already know and love, and you will definitely encounter some that you haven't seen before, and that is all to the good. You will be able to find the link to vote from later this evening on our socials and from tomorrow on our homepage. You're going to have 4 full days. So from tomorrow morning on, you've got 4 full days until 11:59 p.m. Eastern on the 22nd to vote in this first round. So take your time, explore the art. We're going to have more live streams with special guest artists appearing with us. We're going to have some giveaways in future live streams, all kinds of fun stuff.
Prizes?
Prizes! So, yeah.
Yes, prizes.
Justin, Cliff, thank you for letting us join you on your Torn Tuesday. I'm sure there are going to be other staffers dropping in later, and I'm sorry that we have to run, but enjoy your deep delve. One other quick thing I want to say that isn't about this, but this Sunday, our very good friend Jordan Ranells, who created the long expected soundscape, for Tolkien Reading Day, starting at noon Eastern Time, so 9 a.m. Pacific, throughout the day, you can listen to The Return of the King being read with his soundscape in the background, different people reading. There's a soundscape. Different people reading. Our very own Cliff is reading a chunk. I appear reading a chunk if I can manage to get my video to Jordan. I've been struggling with that, but again, you'll find that on our socials. I just wanted to do a plug. Celebrate Tolkien Reading Day this Sunday by listening to passages from The Return of the King with a beautiful soundscape in the background. Over to you guys.
All right.
It's so exciting. Congratulations again, Jim and Green Dragon, Kirsten. Thank you for curating this excellent set of images for us to work with. Lovely. Thank you again.
Thanks for having us.
Have a great time at the party tonight. Have a great time.
Yes. We're going to eat green food.
We are going to eat, drink, and be the hobbit of our choosing.
Deliciousness.
Have fun.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye for now. Excellent.
Well, that was the overview of our 64 contestants for Middle Earth March Madness this year. That's 64 Tolkien artists. Only one piece of art from each artist, and we still had to narrow it down. There's so much great art out there. Again, as Kirsten was saying, you have 4 days to vote on this, and the chat room is already saying this is going to take hours to choose between these pairs. That's the idea. We want you to appreciate all this art in all the different ways that you can appreciate art. There's nostalgia. There is artistic expressionism. There is fidelity to reality. There's a lot of reasons to like each piece. Wouldn't you agree, Cliff?
Indeed. I mean, you might want to go for the way an artist can handle his shadows and his light. Maybe you want your artist to be very good at chiaroscuro. Maybe you prefer your artist to be a little bit more loose and interpretive and a little bit out of left field. So whether you want photorealism or whether you want thematic playfulness with some of the things that are going on with the characters, the groups, a wonderful exercise for all of us to enhance our artistic tastes, I suppose. And we are now welcoming to the show wonderful staff volunteers who work with the OneRing.net and have been Torn staffers for many, many years. We now welcome Kathy Garfemau, Udoch, and there's Josh Rubenstein.
Hello.
Rubenstein.
Like the Berenstein.
How long have we known each other, Cliff?
It is. I remember the argument in Peacemaker. The characters were arguing about the Berenstain Bears. I remember that. It was delightful. That was James Gunn having some fun with that. Peacemaker was hilarious and quite funny.
Oh yeah, I love that show.
So welcome to our March Madness, everybody.
Frankenstein.
Yeah. That's Frederick Frankenstein.
Indeed. Well, welcome to the show. There's Kathy, there's Garth, and Justin is here with us. What's your first impression, you guys, of those beautiful 64 images?
Let's jump into that. But before we do that, Kathy, give everybody an update on what's coming up next week.
So, not this weekend coming up, but the weekend after is, Tolkien Reading Day is on the 25th, which is I think it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday. But unfortunately, it doesn't fall on the coming weekend when um, that Soundscape is going to be doing a reading thing. But WonderCon is coming on the 28th, 29th, and 30th in Anaheim. And we are also going to do a Tolkien Reading Day panel where everyone up on stage will read, and then we may invite a couple of children to join us and a few other surprises.
Well, that's going to be
In
fun.
there.
WonderCon again is in Anaheim. I think day tickets are still available for any of the days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Tolkien Reading Day. I believe you're doing something on Friday, and then on Saturday we're going to have a big Lord of the Rings panel, give you guys all the latest gossip and news of what's going on with Lord of the
That's your
Rings.
job.
So it's going to be a big week in Anaheim, right across the street from Disneyland. Well, let's get into this. And again, this is an early Torn Tuesday because we're launching Middle Earth March Madness. It is all about the art of Middle Earth. We just showed you 64 brackets. We're gonna deep dive into the brackets as only nerds can, and we're gonna debate and highlight the value of all of these pieces and basically provide an opportunity for ways to appreciate each piece of art in different ways. And staffers will be coming in and out, hope maybe throughout this live stream as life gets in the way. But right now we've got Clifford and Kathy and Josh and whoever else wants to join. Let's jump in to that first bracket. Well, let's jump into the categories first. These are the 4 categories. 4 brackets. They've narrowed it down to landscapes and environments, portraits, story moments, and groups and montages. So,
Yeah, we such a debate on how to categorize these brackets. So I'm glad that this went with what you were looking at.
Yeah, it was so hard just like keeping pace with like all the back and forth emails that were going on about this that I was basically just like, okay, like once the decisions are made, then I'll look at what you've got. And and I have, and they're such great choices. Like Kirsten did a great job in sending out a big PDF to everybody with these nice high res versions of all the images, so I can really take a
we'll
look
be
at
able
them.
to see that when the voting opens. You'll be able to see all the high res versions, and we tried to get links to anybody that's currently alive and online, and so you can take a look at more of their work. So let me, I guess, let's put it to you guys. Okay, Kathy, what is your favorite group here?
I don't know if I have a favorite group because there was some amazing artwork that I'd never seen before, and I just looked at it. I mean, we're going to get to one in the landscapes, I believe, that I had never seen before, but I want it. Wherever it came from, I want this. We'll get to it when we see it. It was an artwork that was. I like landscapes. I think I'm going to go with landscapes and environment.
Josh, what was your favorite grouping?
My favorite grouping, like Kathy, it's like kind of hard to narrow it down because there are so many great images and artists in every bracket here. But like gun to my head, I would probably have to go with the groups and montages. Uh, just because like I love like these big group shots of like lots of characters and lots of different moods, and the choices that were made here were just fantastic. And it's also really cool to see like images that I know and have loved for so many years, and artists that I know and have loved for so many years show up here and be like, "Oh, hey, it's that image. I love that one." And I think like the groups and montages bracket was the one where I had like the most of that reaction.
All right, well, let's start there then. I'm game for
Okay.
that. All right, the first group and montage. You got Little Rivers of the Shire versus Gandalf and Bilbo at Bag End.
I agree with Josh. This is my favorite quadrant, my favorite section of the bracket. and it's as good as any to start here. Um,
Yeah.
Hello,
So
Maurice Sendak. Welcome to the
yeah,
competition, Maurice Sendak.
I
Yes.
like
When I
honestly,
saw
until
that,
we got this, I did not know that Maurice Sendak had even done Tolkien illustrations, and
yeah, that
like
was so shocking
and
and
just
so
seeing
fun.
that, I was like, oh, that is 100% Maurice Sendak. Like it
Wait,
looks like
you
something
guys
right
are
out of.
going too fast. You act like I'm supposed to know who Maurice Sendak is.
Well, I was just about to get to
Where the
that. I was about to
monsters
say like
are.
this looks like something right out of Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes, where the wild things are.
Didn't you see Spike Jones's film of Where the Wild Things Are? Didn't you see that, Justin?
Yeah, with the
Or did you
big
read?
furry things and with the horns and stuff,
Yeah,
and
didn't you? And
the
you read
kid
that
on
book when you
Monster
were?
Island
Yeah, you read the
Yeah,
book when you were a little child, didn't you? I did.
yeah,
reading.
I
I don't
did.
know, but this picture is from the same artist that did Where the
Yes.
Wild Things Are. Oh, that's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Well,
So
yeah, I mean, there isn't much to say other than this is the
no,
celebrity contest, I guess, because like, how
but
do you
but
not
also
vote
like
for that?
the one that is going up against the Little Rivers of the Shire is such a really cool like uh very peaceful, tranquil moment from the Shire. And like for me, anything related to the Shire like immediately like gets a thumbs up in my book. But I just love this depiction of, I guess it looks like, I mean, it could be Frodo and Sam like doing some fishing, but it really could just be any two hobbits doing some fishing.
Yep. Merry
And
and Pippin.
or Merry and Pippin. Yeah. I mean, maybe
You know
even
where
now
my
to
mind was
Smeagol and
at
Deagle.
though? Like if
Huh.
this category is called groups and montages, I thought this was Smeagol and Deagle
I
and
was about to
the
say that,
third
but they
wheel.
weren't in the Shire.
Why does this
Smeagol and
have?
Deagle
Oh
weren't in the
yeah, so
Shire.
where were they?
They were near Gladden Fields,
Near the River
so
Anduin.
closer to the River Anduin. So you know, a good trek away from the Shire.
Okay, so
Quite.
this is definitely Hobbits of the Shire. Um,
Um,
Yes. Yeah.
and also, we know from Professor Tolkien, with the exception of some of the residents of Buckland, that many of the hobbits distrusted boats. They had a great mistrust of boats, and even Frodo's parents died in a boating accident.
Yeah.
So I kind of find it real funny how delicately these hobbits are reaching out down to get something out of the water. It looks like they're using a pail to catch fish or something. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't catch it.
And
See, that's why it's unusual. It's always unusual, the opening shot of The Return of the King, because there's Deagle and Smeagol in a damn boat. And
Hmm.
like, but later on, centuries and centuries like later, we knew that most of the hobbits of the Shire would not step foot in a boat if you told them to.
and yet
They
they
just,
had the raft, the raft with the pull cord and stuff like that to get across. So they did have crossings where they
Yeah.
didn't have bridges.
yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's Buckland, which is like, I
The
mean, I
exception to the
understand like,
rule.
yeah, but like uh the Tooks and the Brandy Bucks, so the Brandy Bucks especially sort of like kind of went their own way.
Yep.
Uh um
well, I like
so
this
it
one
wouldn't.
because you can see the watercolor. You can see the
Yes.
bleeding of the paint on the paper at the bottom left. Uh, you can see the loose brush strokes. That nothing is quite defined in this artwork. And when you guys click on the artwork, when you go to vote, you can really study the details of the piece of art. And it's a lot of loose lines. And illustration backed by just watercolor. Just it's so freeform and kind of emotional. The way that the colors make the definition of the shapes, because it's not
Hmm.
a detailed illustration. It is
The
the
watercolor.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very warm, it's very inviting, and like I know that that Tales of the Shire game that's coming out, the word that people keep using describing that one is bucolic. And this one I also feel has that bucolic vibe to it.
So which one would you want to put on your wall? This or the Maurice Sendak?
Oh man, that's tough.
Tough choice.
That
Um,
is. It,
That's a
what I
tough
mean,
like
it's
choice.
about
almost
Maurice Sendax is it's that style of art that is like it's little lines. It's all those little lines,
yeah.
as opposed to a drawing. So nothing is like actually solid. It's everything is formed by little lines and darker and cross hatching and I remember it as a style of art we were taught when we were in elementary school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
All
God,
right, we are joined
it's
by
almost
another staff member who absolutely wanted to join on this bracket, particularly our collectibles editor, LSR himself, Josh Long. How's it going,
hey,
sir?
hey,
Hey
how's it
guys, can
going?
you? I'm actually I'm trying to use one of my AirPods for once on my computer. Can you guys hear me okay on this? Okay, good.
Yeah,
All right, cool.
Yeah.
we hear you great. It's nice to
Yeah,
see you,
you guys
Josh.
decided to
Welcome.
start with this one. I'm sitting there watching. I'm going, this is the one I wanted to jump in on and talk the most about. So I'm like, sending Justin a message real quick. I'm like, man, please.
All right, well, we've all said our piece
That's okay.
about
We
this
just
first contest,
yeah.
so we leave it to you.
Yeah, we
Talk
just
to us.
started, so yeah, we're still on the first heat. So yeah.
So I like this. Obviously, I mean, not trying to be biased, but I do have one of the. I mean, and this isn't. I mean, for anybody watching that thinks like I'm. This is always my background. So anybody that watches our podcast or anything that I do, this is always my background. So I put that
Nice.
out there. But that is my favorite piece in this group. But I like the group of montage shots. Just I, especially for me coming from the movies to the books and stuff that comes from the Bakshi or Peter Jackson's, those things that are more kind of in that media where I have immediate relation to those versus like some of the wild stuff that came from like the 60s and 70s and stuff. So for me, montages are always cool because a lot of times it'll include things like, the films and stuff like that. So I'm all about seeing big group pictures and stuff like that.
All right, what's your choice on this first grouping?
I actually really like this one right here. Uh, I don't know. It's just a very cool, simplistic picture. I think it feels hobbity, if that makes sense. It feels kind of very simplistic and Lord and Middle Earth and um I don't know. There's just a calm and a beauty to it. I think.
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
gonna be a coin flip. I'm gonna be flipping coins
I
throughout the
feel
whole
like
thing.
I feel like the celebrity quotient, like you said, we took Tolkien out of the competition because it's kind of an unfair vote. We took movies out and TV shows out because it's kind of an unfair popularity contest. And I think having Maurice Sendak in here is proof that your bias toward nostalgia, familiarity, celebrity, whatever you want to call it, like
Hmm.
is again two different styles of art here. Two different
Yeah, I
styles of
love the
art.
Hobbits.
It's
I
two
love
different
the idea of
styles,
the
but it's like
Hobbits.
but it's also like two characters and it's like very similar vibes and like uh because Josh chose the Maurice Sendak one, I'm just gonna even it out and choose the Little Rivers of the Shire one because it it's a lovely picture and I could definitely see it on my wall.
There you go. All right, moving on. The next contest in the groups and montages. You've got the Czech Republic artist doing an unexpected holiday, and it written in his language there, versus birthday party of Baggins from China. Two totally different styles, very international in concept and execution. Yeah, you got your guys' thoughts.
I like the birthday party of Baggins first. I like it a little bit better. It
Yeah.
the other one to me goes into like it's a little too wild for me. I I mean, and I always I feel bad sometimes with art describing it like that or whatever, because because there's people that really like it, or family of the artist might ever come across some of it's just there's a complexity in my mind of let's not be insulting or try to come across that way, but it just is a little wild to me. It's a little
This
fantastical in a way that just
this
doesn't
one
work.
is
Yeah,
the
it just doesn't work for me. The other one I really like. It just kind of feels, I hate to say normal. That's a terrible way to describe it. Someone's going to be in the chat going, "What is this guy's problem?" But it just feels normal, and there's a sense that I can relate to just in the image that's on the screen of being able to enjoy it for what it is.
Well,
There is a unique symmetry in Jian Guo's style. It's the symmetry of a stained glass window, and I like the use of colors. I love the use of symmetry, but I'm also kind of attracted to the weirdness of the other one, which is the Czechoslovakian one, that suggests just a children's book. It is like the kind of stuff that you would find interesting at the age of 5 or 6 years old, and you'd look at that and say, "Who's this little guy smoking a pipe, talking to this weird guy with the pointy hat, and he's got his beard tucked into his belt?" It is so way off center, and it's not
approachable.
symmetrical. Well,
I
it's
need Lord of the Rings
approachable,
done like that then for my nephews,
but
so I
it's
can get them
got
interested.
even look at Gandalf's left foot and right foot. There's
yeah,
no
opposite.
no symmetry at all. In fact, it's the opposite of
It-
the forced symmetry of the Chinese artist. So I kind of sense the appeal of both of them. It's a tough choice for me.
I can see that. Like the Czech one for me, like kind of reminds me of that animated Hobbit movie from like the 60s. I don't know if
Yes.
you like
Yeah.
the one
Yeah.
the one that was made solely to like maintain the rights.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Actually, I believe that Kirsten mentioned that.
Yeah.
Actually.
And
Yeah, it does
but
remind you of that.
I love the Jiangguo one because like you said, it looks like a stained glass window and there's just so much going on in it. And it's like that meme of like the longer you look at it, the more you see.
Yeah,
And
that's
like
true.
there's just so many like cool details in there that just like you just want to like stare at it. Like this is if we're going strictly on what would I put on my wall, then Jung Wo's uh, image definitely wins this one for me.
And
Well,
for me, what I find interesting about the Czech one, and if the date's correct, 1991, it still was Czechoslovakia, because after the fall of the Berlin Wall, it became the Czech Republic and Slovakia, and now the Czech Republic is Czechia. Okay, no, all right, that's the travel
Oh,
agent in me correcting
hey,
everything. But
TD Matthew in the chat says, "Do you think that Bilbo's little smoke signals here are S and B for Sackville Baggins? Maybe." You don't know. Who
That is hilarious.
knows?
But what I find interesting about the Hobbiton behind it is you have both the sun and the moon in the sky,
At
and
the same time,
stars and
yes.
birds. It's sort of like, and then I don't know what the little tower is supposed to be. That's just hilarious. To me, this looks like a teacher read a story to a bunch of kids, and this is one of the pictures that came out of it.
Do they
Yes,
kind
it
of look
does.
like train cars to you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kind
kind of.
of, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not going crazy then, because they look
Oh,
kind of
you're
like
not
train
going
cars
crazy.
to me.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I can see
this looks
that.
like okay, the teachers just read a story to the kids, and now they're drawing what they interpret that story to be. So that's sort of my vibe for that particular one. I'm kind of in line with the rest of you guys. The Jian Guo one is stunning,
Yeah.
really is.
well,
That I would have to vote for
allow me
Jiang Guo.
to
Yeah.
allow me to give you guys who are voting over the next 4 days something to think about. You know, Tolkien is for everyone. Tolkien is a global story. It is one of the most translated authors, and Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are two of the most translated books ever. You can find editions of Tolkien, of The Hobbit, everywhere in every language. And so you think about when this was made in Czechoslovakia under, this is just around the breakup of the USSR. Czechoslovakia was part of the Soviet sphere of influence. And if you've watched shows like Chernobyl, I mean, that it portrays life under Soviet rule so incredibly, and it's incredibly bleak. And so these fantasy stories that broke through, these political walls like Tolkien does, and here you have, you talk about, do those look like train cars? I want to remark on the fact that the imagination of Czechoslovakian artists so limited that they had to draw buildings as they know the buildings themselves in the country they live in. They couldn't even concept of an idea of a round door. I think that you do see that they're trying to draw hobbit holes into a hillside, right? Because there is the hillside, the hilltop up top, and all the buildings are underneath. So he was trying to portray what he was reading in Tolkien's books, but the limited imagination of that society, it just couldn't concept the idea of like building it into the dirt. These had to be these had to be houses that looked like the houses that he lived in, right? And maybe part of that is he wanted to escape into this book in a way that is familiar in a world that he knows he could live in. He could live in those houses because those are the houses that he's familiar with in real life. What is that tower? That's probably the city center tower in his little town wherever he's from. So it's Tolkien acting as a bridge out from your real world, into escapism. This is, and if you don't have access to copies of the books with all the wonderful illustrated versions that other countries do, and all you have is the books themselves and the text translated into your local dialect, you have to come up with the imagination. So I really like this Czech artist because he's creating this from whole cloth. It's not inspired by any other artist ever. It's an original theory, visual theory on what Hobbiton looks like, and that's what's interesting to me.
You can also
That's a
see
really
that there's
interesting
lines.
take on it. Yeah.
And you can also see that there's lines. So you've got the village, and then when you get to the Bilbo and Gandalf scene, you can see there's a straight line there, and the same thing at the end, right next to Gandalf and those rocks. So it appears that there was probably 3 different images that were put together on that page. So whatever came across, these came from. In other words, they were illustrating several different sequences or whatever, and because you can see those delineated lines,
Yeah,
at least on the middle.
yeah,
I get the feeling that it's like a book cover. We're looking at the back cover and the front cover.
The front, yeah, that makes
And
sense.
the rocks on the far right might be the fold, the gatefold that goes inside the book.
Yeah.
The book, that inside slip. Yeah.
You're probably
Yeah,
correct.
I can see that. I
Yeah,
can see that. Yeah.
totally.
Well,
Yeah, we're so
that-
nerdy. We're so nerdy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No,
moving on to our
Justin,
next
that's a
one.
bit. Yeah,
We've
that's
got-
fantastic take, Justin. A lot to think about.
Well, this is probably the most famous matchup, period.
Mhm.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it actually is. If you want to know how I decorated my bedroom, this is it. These 2 pieces on
Cliff,
the
I don't
one
want
is
to
on
know
the
nothing about your bedroom.
one is on the west wall, one is on the east wall, and they face each other. I have both of these posters facing each other in the master bedroom. It's hilarious that they're completely randomly curated into this bracket against each other. What a random.
I don't think this is randomly curated. I think this
Ah.
is on purpose.
Well, these images represent the height of late 70s craze of J.R.R. Tolkien fandom. Absolutely the height of the 70s craze. Pictured here. This is speaking to a certain generation of fan. Let me tell you that.
The
These
old
were
graybeards.
basically like
Sure.
posters and calendars, right? Weren't these off of calendars?
The Tom
No.
Young image
Nope.
is
These
just
were not
pure
calendars.
nostalgia.
These were full-size posters that you put on the walls.
Yeah, these are movie posters.
The one,
the Tom Young image is just pure nostalgia for me. Like this is like I had the VHS with this on it, like in my childhood, and
I had a shiny metallic vert poster, a very very large oversized metallic poster of the Young image. And keep in mind that was the image that United Artists chose. This is the Tom Young image. It was used as the key art for everything related to the worldwide theatrical release of Ralph Bakshi's The Lord of the Rings. This is the key art chosen by the studio. Wasn't chosen by Ralph Bakshi. This was chosen, I'm sure that Ralph advocated for this artwork, but it was chosen by the studio to be representational poster artwork for the release of the film worldwide.
Tom Young is still with us, and he is 96 years old.
Because
Wow.
this is such a striking image, and like just like on first glance, you're like, ooh, what is that? Show me more. And
particularly with the glowing finger, Gandalf's glowing finger. It's just like going, ooh, being sent on a mission.
You might not be able to see it at this size, but he is bearing Narya, the Ring of Fire.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Wild imagining, because Professor Tolkien never ever said that you could use one of the 3 elven rings and zap like, a Dragon Ball Z lightning bolt out of your fingertip. That didn't happen with the elven rings, but this is how Tom interpreted it, and I love it. I think it's great.
Very cool.
But then the James how's that pronounced? Cotty?
James
that
Cotty.
image, it's so wonderful. Like,
really
now
is.
correct me if I'm wrong, but this was this like a cover for like a comic book?
No, it was just a really popular wall poster.
It was just a post. I think I like this one a little bit more. There's something about it, even though it was done in 1976, which is 5 years before I was born, just for putting that out there on the record. This feels like something you would see now tied to Peter Jackson's films. There's a lot of these it's not Mondo necessarily, but like them, that are doing these like quick sales of Lord of the Rings prints and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, they're almost this style of print. This is the type of print I think if it was done now in that style with the way those sells, this would sell out in, I mean, I hate to say minutes, but minutes would be probably the best way I could put it, because it has a really cool artistic style that it feels modern and classic at the same time, but then you've got all the stuff going on the border and different and it's really cool. I really like that. I had never actually seen that print before till you guys started showing them at the beginning. It's really neat.
It actually looks like a one of those illustrated prints of images, because you've got it actually says Lord of the Rings up on the top, but it's so stylized you can barely make that out.
Yeah, and it also has like a lot of negative space in it, where it has like negative space in it that sort of seems like it was put there deliberately to have like informative text put in there, like cast or writer or something like that. Which is why I thought like maybe this was the cover of some graphic novel, but just as a poster by itself, like just like that image of the Baggins birthday party in the previous grouping, there's just so much going on here, and like the more you look at it, the more stuff pops out to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. I like that a
There
lot.
are incredible details. It is very, 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 very detailed. The outside border is all orcs. At the very, very top of the outside border is the eye of Sauron. And then that's just the darker outer border. The illuminated interior border does have the One Ring floating at the apex, at the top of the archway,
Lord of the
above the
Rings.
characters. And the wording, and I know someone in the live chat is saying,
I,
are those supposed to be like spider web looking letters? It's just highly, I would say they're acid trip letters. This is very,
yeah.
this is very
I do
LSD.
like how the
So
One Ring is sort of like joining the O and the F of the of.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's the
And that
details.
building on the on you're looking at it on the right hand side because there's looks like a building with a star on top, like a big shining beacon, and I can't even
Yeah,
figure out what that is.
I'm looking forward to seeing the high res version of this because
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
digging it. I'm really digging that a lot. That's a
You
really
Yeah.
really really cool. That's a
there's a
really cool image. I've like I said, I've never seen that one before, so that's pretty cool. I like it a
Yeah,
lot.
this poster is wild. Samwise, who is seated to the side of Gandalf's right hand side, and there's Frodo standing there uh, above a pile of dead orcs. There's some dead orcs that they've just killed, and there's Legolas and Gimli and Gollum as the bottom three characters in those three
Yeah.
circles on the bottom, and there's the Lady of Light, Galadriel in the left, and Elrond
Huh.
on the right. So the bearers of the three elven rings are depicted, and it's just wild.
Wow.
The details that you see, you stare at it, and you realize, oh my gosh, there's hidden letters. Even Gollum, in the dark circle around his framing, Gollum's
Huh?
name is spelled Gollum right there.
Oh, I
It's
see it.
it's
Yeah.
Oh my
incredibly
gosh.
stylized. It's really detailed.
Okay, this
I
is
like
very
that.
cool.
This is amazing.
It
Well,
is
Yeah.
so
such an acid
iconic
trip.
versus super cool.
Well, look,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Ralph Bakshi, and we were privileged to meet the man, the legend himself, in person, and this is just such an iconic piece of art that captures the imagination of everyone, and you know, one day we will get a movie adaptation where Gandalf does fling fireballs from his finger like this artwork portrays. Super Mario Gandalf, I like to call it. But
That'll be a real change for the Bridge of Khazad-dûm scene for sure.
you know, one last pitch for this artwork. James Caudy, also known as Jimmy Caudy. This is the best-selling Lord of the Rings poster of all time. It's had so many reprints they don't even keep track anymore. It was everywhere in the 70s and 80s. But this artist is not just an illustrator. Jimmy Caudy had a second career in the 90s when he started making music as the KLF. And then he started working with the Prodigy, and he started working with Orbital. A lot of the early electronic music bands, including Garbage, hired him for mixing their album. So this guy made music, had huge hits. Just look up the KLF. You'll recognize the songs. You hear his music.
That's amazing.
You hear his music at every NBA game, pretty much. Like, Jimmy Caudy is a music legend, but that was 20 years after. That was like 25 years after he had illustrated this artwork and sold millions of posters. So this artwork came to define Lord of the Rings for so many people. In fact, this is probably the most famous piece of Tolkien art up until Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings.
Keep in mind that Jimmy Caudy created this poster when he was only 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
He is 68 years old now and has an incredible career high-end stuff that he's done with electronic music, but he was 17 years old. He was just Jack the Lad when he created this
Wow.
worldwide famous Lord of the Rings psychedelia.
I wasn't doing that at 17.
Wow, what have I done with my life? Jeez.
Yeah, he
I
is
say
a
to myself,
polymath. He is that
I need,
talented.
yeah, absolutely. I need to get out more often. Yes, that's what I
Right.
tell myself. Yes,
Right.
yes.
Oh my
Let's
God.
move on to our next thing. Josh Long, go ahead and sell us on your choice. Why should we vote for your choice?
I love it.
Well,
This is great.
Well, like I said, this is always my background image on whether or not it's doing something like this, hosting, the podcast, it's a Zoom meeting for work. Jerry's fellowship print it's always my background. I love his work. Um, Jerry's a great person. He's a friend of mine, but his work is amazing. He just the ability that he has to capture um, what the movies give off as far as the Tolkien feel and vibe and essence and all of those things, looking like they are screen captures from the film, but they're painted by hand, as you said. Um, I just think his work is outstanding. I have so much of his work here at my house. Some of it framed, some of it still stored away because I don't have enough wall space. Um, I just think his work is absolutely outstanding, and I think when you look at this particular print in and of itself, you see the movie, you get an idea of what happens, and you get, I think you get the vibe and the essence of all the characters um, that you will meet during the course of the Fellowship of the Ring. And there's so much going on. You have obviously the beautiful Middle Earth map in the background, and the Doors of Durin, and then my friend the Balrog that I tend to cover up when I'm standing here because he's situated just normally. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is the best one of this group. I would, I mean, obviously I would advocate very hard for it just because I think Jerry's work is really, really amazing. But yeah, it's pretty damn good, I think.
Who's going to defend Rhett Whittington's
Hey,
wonderful?
I will. This one looks like a card from the Magic the Gathering, although it's 2019, so it predates it, obviously. But this one definitely looks like it would be a game card of some sort. And I know that there's other card games out there. Um, that's what this one looks like to me. I love the Celtic bordering because I just love the Celtic bordering. I love the fact that it's got the crown of Numenor and the sword up at the top. It's got the white tree at the bottom. Um, it's got, I mean, look at the glowing, Gandalf's glowing stick, not stick, walking stick, whatever you call it. Um,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out
Top,
who's the guy in the white horse. Who's the guy in the white horse? Because you've got a character on the outside that look like they're different. I
Tops
forgot
did
who
a
they are.
set
I
here
think
several years ago that it was a whole Lord of the Rings art set. You guys might have some of the cards,
Yeah,
especially Cliff. I know he collects that kind of thing. Um, and this looks like
Tom
the type
Bombadil.
of art that would have made it into that set because it incorporated movie stuff too, but it also pulled in things that weren't movie related. And this is pretty cool. I definitely dig this. I feel bad that this print is going up against Jerry's print, um,
yeah.
because I mean, I'm gonna somewhat advocate for Jerry's print, but
I'm
it's
gonna look,
really cool. I like
and
it a
I'm gonna
lot.
look at the
Actually, it's really
bottom
It
neat.
because you
it's
can see
very
the
cool. It
nine
looks like,
riders.
yeah.
You can see the
It
9 riders at the bottom on the right hand
yeah.
side and the
Yeah.
Fellowship on the left hand side, and that's Tom Bombadil on the right.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
Who's the guy on
it's
the
got
horse?
Narsil at the top. That's pretty
The
cool
On
too.
guy,
on the
Faramir?
left, if I had to guess, it would maybe like Faramir? I don't know.
Yeah,
guy on the horse bears the
Yeah.
standard of the white tree with the 7
Yeah.
stars. That would
And
be
he's blowing
Aragorn.
a horn,
That'd be
but he's
Aragorn
also
with,
blowing the horn.
and
Yeah.
he is blowing his horn, and he has the crown with the Numenorian wings. So
Yeah.
that would be Aragorn featured much, much later in the story.
Okay.
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 And two
That makes sense. Yeah.
there's 2 crests on the bottom, including the crest of Rohan and the crest of the White Tree of Gondor. And
Yeah.
of course, at the
And
very
the 9
top,
against the 9.
And yeah, in the very top
Yeah.
there is the 7 stars and the broken sword of Anduril. Well,
Yeah.
I would say
Very
that's
pretty.
Narsil. It's still Narsil at the time when it's broken. When it was reforged, it was renamed Anduril. But what I like the most is that the personality of the hobbits, all distinct personalities, are seen in these hobbits and all these characters. And I really dig this. It's really cool.
And look,
Um,
check out Boromir. He's got red hair in this one, red hair and a beard, but he's got the sword on his shoulders on his back, so it's like behind his head and everything.
yeah.
Very cool.
Mhm.
And then of course, yes, Frodo's there's orcs nearby because clearly both of the blades are glowing.
I
I'm
also love
getting
that Frodo's sword is like almost as big as he is.
Yes, I'm totally getting Legend of Zelda vibes from the Hobbit on the far right, the one that's
Yeah.
right underneath
Yeah.
Gandalf's staff. That is totally Legend of Zelda vibes. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I was sort of like thinking like this kind of has like almost a Final Fantasy vibe to it. Like
This is so
like
fun.
those
Aragorn is
games.
Yeah.
not supposed to have a beard. Just want to point that out. Why
Who?
can't,
Who's not
why
supposed to have a beard?
Aragorn?
Okay. Yeah, looks like he's got facial hair right there. What are you going to say about it?
Well, I'm telling
Yeah.
you that's well, it's whatever you want to make of it.
Well, at least I don't know
Okay.
how Vigo managed to maintain stubble because he never shaved, he never grew the full beard. Just through 3 whole movies for an entire 1 year, it was always the same perfect Vigo stubble. I don't know how he did it, but it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, which one would you hang up on your wall? Rhett Winnington or Jerry Vanderstilt?
Both. This is gonna be a coin
I
toss. I
mean,
told you most of my votes are gonna be
yeah,
coin toss.
it's a coin toss, but like if I had to like make a choice, I'd have to go with Jerry Vanderstelt. Mostly because like just looking at it and knowing that this is hand painted just blows me away.
Indeed.
Well, the choice will be yours when voting opens tomorrow. I just like this because I feel like in the years after the Lord of the Rings movies, it's hard to be not inspired or influenced by what Peter and John Howe and Alan Lee and that whole creative team at Weta Workshop did, and it's I feel like anyone this was drawn in 2019. Anyone that has lived in this era of pop culture where Lord of the Rings was so dominant and the Hobbit movies and everything else, but can still come up with fully original designs based on Tolkien's descriptions and like you said, create fully realized character archetypes in each of the 4 hobbits here. I mean, it's just the amount of creativity on display here is really great. Except the beard.
Uh,
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna think it
well-
too hard for that.
I think I can guess how the public is going to vote. They'll vote for the incredible photorealism that Mr. Vanderstelt can achieve. I'm pretty sure the public will vote on that.
Probably, but
Well-
like what kind of like makes me sad is that the Rhett Whittington art is so good. I just would hate to see it eliminated so quickly.
Yeah.
But we're
But
gonna lose 32 pictures in the
Yeah,
first.
that's the unfortunate thing with like these pairings, unfortunately,
Yeah.
sadly.
Which is
That's
why
true.
we're giving them all the time that we can
Yes.
give them.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm going to start this one off by saying, come on, guys. There's no contest here. The Scouring of Shire is so cheesy and terrible. It's like drawn from the worst 1980s Lord of the Rings book covers, the ones that you know what I'm talking about, where
No, it's
Bilbo
not like
doesn't.
those.
This just
This
looks
is a
like it
famous
looks
image.
worse than the Darby
No.
O'Gill and the Little People.
I-
That's what it
No,
looks like.
does
no, I
not.
cannot
Don't you
agree
knock
with that.
Darby
Like,
O'Gill. Oh my gosh.
Darby
okay.
O'Gill is a classic. How dare you, sir?
This
Oh.
Michael Herring image is really famous from one of the most popular J.R.R. Tolkien calendars of all time. And it's super cool because we never get to see it. It's never been adapted in any version of any animated or live action film. We never get to see the Scouring of the Shire. So I'll take any representations of that I can get. And showing that they're unafraid. These little guys are so unafraid of Saruman's henchmen, his ruffians.
Talking about
They
ready to
totally
jump
dig
off
it.
the cliff.
Am
Jump on 'em.
am I crazy right now? Is that what you think of when you think of Saruman and Wormtongue?
No, those are not
No.
Saruman and Wormtongue. They're the
Those are
hired goons
studs.
of
Yeah,
Saruman.
that's what I was thinking. Like these are like
They're
their
hired henchmen.
henchmen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like yeah, because like Saruman and Wormtongue, like they were able to sort of bring some hobbits over to their side, but for the most part, they just hired big people muscle.
Thugs. Yeah, thugs.
Look, I'm all for the Scouring of the Shire in so many ways. Like, yes, I want to see Scouring of the Shire, but
Yes.
this ain't it ever. I don't want this on my wall. I don't even want it on my screen. I am doing you guys a privilege putting it on screen because I want you to sell me on this because
Oh my gosh.
there's no way that this is better than this amazing piece, Encounter at Amansul.
Well, I
And I
can't
say
say.
better? No, but
I've never
I still
seen it
say
before.
that it is like good in its own right. Like
Well,
There's
I'm
no-
assuming this is when
This good.
Gandalf
How is
was,
this good?
Gandalf was behind everyone. Was Gandalf in
Yeah.
front of or behind the when the hobbits leave the Shire and this Amansul? Because Amansul, this is also where this is Weathertop, isn't it?
yeah.
So this is the battle
I-
that
I-
he
I
had with
kind
them
of-
just before the others got there.
Wait,
Yes.
I
that's
kind of
not
like
in the
the
movie.
other one. I kind of
No, it's
like the
not.
other one because it's cheesy. Is that bad?
Cool.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all. Like
It's I
mean, I get it. I totally get it. I also
I don't
like
something about the cheesiness of it is what sells it for me. I don't know why. It's just I don't know.
Well-
I don't have a good answer why I like this one. But it's
Well,
the
okay,
cheesiness of
here's
it that
here's
just
my
sells it
reasoning
to
for
me.
why I like the Scouring of the Shire. It's that it reminds me of it's very reminiscent of Hildebrandt brothers art. And
It is.
I
Yeah.
That's
love
true. That
I
does do that.
love the
Yeah, that's true.
Hildebrandt brothers interpretations of Tolkien. Love John Howe and Alan Lee, but the Hildebrandt brothers, like that's what I most associated with Tolkien growing up. And so to see something that kind of echoes that, I find charming.
I find it also funny that these guys are about to be dead.
Yes.
These guys are not going to make it. Okay?
Nope.
No one gets out
No, they're-
alive.
They're gonna die, and just like their wonderfully like over dramatic expressions, I just find that just hilarious.
It's very retro 80s, early 80s, obviously, which
Well, I
means
just
70s. This was probably painted
Because it's
in the
just
late
like,
70s.
Who in the world could ever be
Yes.
this terrified of a hobbit? Like seriously.
well, and the thing is they're down in that ravine. They were probably trying to hide and run away, and the hobbits were
Yeah.
having none of it. They were
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
"No, we are
And I
chasing you
will-
all."
The dude with the sword, does he not remind you of what's his face from Princess Bride? Guy was in CSI. Now I'm doing what my mom always does, like throwing clues out there. Oh, Jesus. But he reminds me of him with the pirate sword and stuff. I like I said, this thing is wacky and completely cheesy as all possible get out.
Yeah.
But I dig it. I'm not putting it on my wall, but I like
Yeah.
it because it's cheesy as
Yeah, it is fun.
Wait, so does
It's-
no one
it's
else
cute, it's
like
charming.
the real winner here? No one likes this one over
Oh,
the
I
other
love
ones?
this.
We're trying to like get out our defenses for Scouring of the Shire. I mean, Encounter at Amansul, like this is a glorious piece. Like there's no contest between the two, which is why I feel like that's why I sort of feel like they need to speak in favor of Scouring of the Shire a bit more.
Do you guys remember or have seen some of the art from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe that came out like when the cartoons were out and the action figures were new? That's what
Yes.
this
Yes.
picture reminds me of.
Yes.
Like the stuff that you would see from that. So I'm digging it for that reason. It makes me think He-Man. I know that's necessarily not what they're aiming for, completely different topic and all that kind of thing. But I like it for that reason. I like the other one for that is cheesy. I'm definitely like Kathy here. I'm flipping a coin, and wherever it lands, I'd vote. But yeah, that's me on this one. I think both are kind of wild in their own way.
Shadowfax is looking
I
magnificent.
can't flip a coin on this one. Like, I would have to go with
Shadowfax is rocking
yeah.
80s hairband. He's
Oh,
got
yeah.
he's totally rocking 80s hairband music in his ears.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. You look, he's
this
got some
whole
earbuds.
thing screams like metal album cover.
Yes, absolutely. If Lord of the Rings had an
Christopher
80s metal band, yeah.
Well, Christopher Lee, when he did the metal band, I mean, Christopher Lee should be singing the this anthem with this picture.
I agree.
I was going to say, this is one of the most metal things I've seen in a long time. It's very metal.
Yes.
Absolutely metal. It's great.
So,
All right,
where in time is that? Where in time is that?
Final vote.
I just need to know where in time is this?
Let's go around the table. Cliff, which one are you voting for?
I'm not sure, but to answer Garfemau's question about Gandalf and the encounter at Amansul, what time frame is it? It's just a few days before Aragorn and the hobbits arrive at Weathertop.
That's what I thought. I was pretty sure that I was remembering that he was there and he was just ahead of them.
They just missed Gandalf by a few days. Yes.
All right. So Cliff is passing. He won't decide.
No, I'll decide. I have always had the Scouring of the Shire image, the one on the left, in one of my favorite Tolkien calendars of all time. But I'm not going to vote with nostalgia. I like the dynamism of both of these pieces, and that's why they're paired together, because it's an attack. Both of these depict a scene of absolute attack and defend. And I gotta go with the encounter at Amansul because it's brand new and it's kind of wild. And
we never saw it.
Immigrant song by Led Zeppelin.
It reminds me of a heavy metal magazine cover that I've never seen.
Yeah. Well, for me, with this sequence, I mean, like the Scouring of the Shire was described very well, but we only heard vaguely little bits and pieces of Gandalf, his journey after fleeing from captivity with Saruman.
Yeah.
So this whole sequence is one of those things where we know something happened, we just don't know what. So it's really nice that somebody put it on paper.
So what are you voting for, Kathy?
Oh, encounter at Amansul.
Josh?
I'm not going to toss a coin on this one. Although I really do like that other one. I particularly love that one hobbit with the stick who looks like he's about to jump on the guys. I mean,
you made your choice. You made your choice.
I know.
Yeah. Now the hobbit that I love in the Scouring of the Shire is that one with the bow and arrow who's got sort of like a cheeky smile.
I'm gonna get him in the butt.
he's just like, oh, these guys are so dead and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Rubenstein, what are you voting for?
I mean, I have to go with Encounter at Amansul, like we've been saying, like this.
All right, Josh Long.
This image is it's so metal. Come on.
I'm gonna go with Scouring of the Shire. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
The cheesiness does it for me. I like it for all the reasons kind of that you guys are talking about, just the goofiness of it, the looks on some of their faces, the ones, you got these guys looking up, you got hobbits they got the high ground, you got the Anakin Obi-Wan situation, you got sticks. It looks like it could be potentially very violent for these two gentlemen that made the wrong choice. They effed around and they're about to find out, as we now say in the modern times.
That is the FAFO moment, yes, for them.
I'm gonna go with Scouring the Shire because I feel like it's super cheesy and it's probably gonna get just absolutely drilled in the vote. So I'm gonna give it a vote if nothing else, just because I feel bad for it because it's gonna get worse.
No, I respect that. Like this is an image that I feel does deserve love. Like you don't
Well,
need
you
to.
didn't give it
You don't need
love.
to come
You
out
did not
swinging
give it
against it
love,
like Justin.
Josh. You said it deserves love,
I
but
am
not from me, not my vote.
fine.
So
Fine.
4-1.
I'm still voting for Encounter at Amon Sul, but I feel like Scouring of the Shire is deserving of love and attention. So
Oh
that
boy,
there
that
we go.
doesn't win elections, does it?
No,
If
but
you're
you can
just
put it on
joining
your
us,
damn wall.
it is. We just hit the 5 o'clock mark, which is our normal time for Torn Tuesday. Thank you all for joining us. I see a bunch of regulars that just popped in. We started early because we debuted our Middle Earth March Madness brackets. 64 contestants. The theme this year is Tolkien art. Every artist got one entry. So we have 64 different artists. And even though John Howe and Alan Lee and many others, Vanderstelt, Donato, many others have done many pieces of art, we narrowed it down to just one selection from their big library of Tolkien art. So 64 Tolkien artists. You're going to start voting on it tomorrow, and you'll have 4 days to vote on the first round to get 64 down to 32. And then once we do that, we'll have another round, and we're going to get all the way to our 25 champion for Middle Earth March Madness. The theme is Tolkien artists, and we've already previewed all the art, but we're going in right now. We're going to on a deep dive. We're so deep that we're like 2 hours in, and we're not even done with the first bracket yet.
Let's go. Let's go.
Will we
Moving
ever
along,
learn?
folks.
Will we ever learn our
Here's some
lesson
coffee.
doing
Let's
this?
strap in.
Oh.
So, all right, so we're gonna jump in again. We want you at home. We want you to take your time voting this year, and we want you to be inspired by this artwork. It is a great time to be a fan of Tolkien. It's a great time to be an artist of Tolkien, and there's a lot of great opportunities outside of the movies and TV show to maybe work on your art, maybe get hired on those productions, maybe get hired on if they do more Magic the Gathering cards, maybe you get hired on that. But make more Tolkien art, put it out there, put it on Instagram, put it on DeviantArt, ArtStation, everything like that. The fans want to see more depictions of Tolkien's classic stories above and beyond what's on Amazon Prime Video or Warner Brothers New Line Cinema. And that's what this year is all about, is like showing the breadth of inspiration and creativity that has inspired so many people. And right now, we're in our first bracket, which is groups and montages. And the next contest that you're going to be voting for starting tomorrow. Again, take your time, appreciate the art for what it is, but these wonderful, wonderful illustrations. I mean, this is the very definition of illustration of the Fellowship versus Beorn's Hall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
These are
Cliff,
so good.
tell us about this
They're so
first
beautiful.
artist.
Pauline Baynes was a remarkable talent, and both C.S. Lewis and John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, they knew it. They knew Pauline Baynes could be trusted. And she illustrated maps of Middle-earth. She illustrated the Tolkien Reader, the outer artwork on the Tolkien Reader, which is a beautiful paperback. Pauline Baynes has illustrated so many things, and she was just an amazing, amazing artist. And you can't find a better sense of nostalgia than I'm always talking about 1970s nostalgia, but this goes even further back in time. Justin is probably going to show you, look, there's some Narnia images that she's so famous for. And the great success of this illustration of the Fellowship themselves is that they all have their backs to you. You can still tell exactly who they are as they go forward. And the perspective is right there in the center of those dark trees. They're going into the strange unknown. Dangers and adventures await them. and they have their backs to you, and it's just such a great choice. It's such a cool, what you'd call a tableau. To me, this is a tableau, which in terms of setting a stage or in theater talk, that is the setting that you're looking at. And her tableau is just pastel green. It's not about the details of the chiaroscuro or the shadows from the light source. It has nothing to do with that. It's just completely the characters and a lot of her ideas about costuming for these characters. It's just fabulous. It's one of my favorite pieces, and it was 1969. You guys can't forget that there was this explosion of wild Tolkien fandom in the late 60s here in North America, in the USA. It was just wild. And this was the time when the iron was at its hottest, and Pauline Baynes was the artist of the moment. I love this. I love it. Anybody
It
else?
is awesome.
Yeah.
No, I like
Like,
this.
well,
Of these two, I
yeah.
like this one. It's simplistic. I do like
Yeah.
that with their backs turned, you can tell who they are. You don't need to see faces. I think there's a good story in the picture itself of them walking off into the great unknown of what they have to do with the task that is at hand. And I think you get a bit of that from this particular piece of art. The other one kind of, I don't know, seems a little wacky for me. Like they'll have like really giant heads and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm more in line with this one, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I really like this one. I like the imagery of it. I like the mood of it. What I also really like is that when you see this grouping of the Fellowship, you see that it looks like it's Frodo who's leading them, as opposed to what you mostly see in a lot of images of the Fellowship is either Gandalf or Aragorn leading them. So
Yes, good point.
I
Yes.
so I like that. Like if it says to me like this is them like just setting off on their journey, like leaving Rivendell, and that just makes this like so much more impactful because like this is the beginning of the journey for them.
Yes.
Another thing
So
I should point out from a technical point of view is the artist here has left a blank canvas. There you don't know what
right.
land they're in. There you don't know if they're in the Shire. You don't know if they're in Gondor or Lothlorien. There's just the abstract of just a few tree branches, and the fact that she didn't put any faces, not even on the elf on the right. There's no defining feature to place this or to place the person, and that allows us, the viewer and the reader, and to imprint ourselves. And I guarantee you that every single person that looks at this artwork puts themselves in a different character here. And the first time you see it, you're just like, "Oh, I'm that guy. I would dress like that. Those are my colors. That's my cape. That's absolutely how I would walk." Right? And again,
Yeah.
we don't know. They could be anywhere in Middle Earth, and it's up to you, the viewer, and your imagination to put yourself into those characters and then place yourself in wherever you want in the story. And that's why this is just a wonderful execution of artwork, because it allows us, the viewer, to just be wherever we want to be and whoever we want to be, with nobody telling us that we can't be that character because that character's black or white or wizard or old or young. There's no rules, because there's no rules in this piece of art. We can be whoever we want to be.
Well said. From the chat,
Yeah.
during the 7th says, clean lines, muted colors, flawless use of shadows to enhance the natural flowing fabric of their cloaks. Indeed.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
trademark of Pauline's artwork.
All right, but
I'm
she is
gonna
up
speak up.
against.
I'm going to speak up for Jemima Catlett, because actually she's one of the artists I actually added to the list because it wasn't on Jim's original list. And I love her illustrated Hobbit. And so what I like about this is so often when you look up pictures and images of Beorn, you always get him as the bear. You always get him in the battle. And again, this is Beorn at home with his animals that are his friends and his servants. And so I mean, we finally get to see the sheep with the tray on his back, and the dog serving the soup, and yeah, I just love this. Now we only see 8 dwarves and Bilbo and Gandalf, so you got to wonder where the other dwarves are.
And he is
I
clearly
also,
Beorn is clearly bigger than Gandalf, which is something the movies did not do.
No,
yeah,
they
yeah,
did not.
yeah. No, the
So
actor was a little bit taller, but yeah, you're right.
the
They didn't do a whole lot with that.
only the extended edition of the Hobbit film gives you the idea of how Mikael Persbrandt was much, much, much larger than a regular human. But you don't get
Yeah.
a sense of it in the theatrical version. This is all whimsy, and I love how whimsical it all is. All of it. The food, the salad, the candles, the green bottles that has their water, the little bowl of soup with the little steam coming off the soups.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah, you didn't
cute.
see.
It's super
Yeah,
cute. And that little doggo, the cute little doggo, is so cute. But you know what? I'm scared of Beorn and his hairy, hairy arms. I'm scared of him.
and it looks like he's got caterpillars on his eyebrows.
Yes, caterpillar
Um,
eyebrows. Yes, that's cute.
Yeah.
but I do love this because I mean he's smiling. So at this point he's not super angry at them. You know, he's greeted them to the table and now he is. I just love it, and I love Jemima's work. So you know, that's me.
I
But
mean,
you're
yeah,
right. You can
it's a
actually tell
very
what the food is. That's the other thing that's kind of cool.
yeah. I mean, it is very whimsical, and like I do like it, but yeah. Um, I mean, between these two, like, I mean, I have to go with the Fellowship image
I love
because
this, and but I love this one because you can get Jemima Catlin's illustrated Hobbit on at your favorite bookstore. This is officially licensed. It came out in 2013. It's a beautiful edition that she illustrated, and it
I mean,
just
it definitely makes me want to like see more of her work and see like the other illustrations that she does for this,
Oh
just to
yeah.
see her take on other scenes.
Oh,
If
you
my
know what?
if my
From the
suitcase
chat,
hadn't been okay.
it's true. Those are not bottles of water. Those would be honey mead. You're right. Thank you,
Well,
Otaku
Yeah,
Senpai.
I was
that
wondering
makes
where the
sense.
bees
Yeah.
were because I remember there was the giant bees. And but yeah, I actually first saw this book at the in Hobbiton at Matamata in New Zealand. It was in the shop, you know, before you go on the tour, and my suitcase wasn't already really full. I would have bought it right then and there, and I didn't. So yeah, um, you know, I had to get it later on. Um, but it's adorable, and it's making me hungry. So let's move on.
well, look on this particular matchup. I know again, it's back to the celebrity quotient. I think Pauline Baines has such a reputation, a well-deserved reputation. She has a lot of fans for a lot of reasons. But execution-wise, like I'm just a huge fan. I mean, we'll get into Evan Earl and some Disney Sleeping Beauty stuff later on, but that's my style, and I'm gonna go with Pauline Baines on the left. But I do love the illustration of on the right of Catlin's work, and you know, they're both deserving of attention. All right, moving on. We've got next one is oh
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
This is going to be one of the
stuff.
hardest. This is a very difficult choice for me. This is a very difficult choice.
All right. Well,
Wow.
let me kickstart this with some criticism on this one. Yes, I don't care about the name Hildebrandt in this capacity because it suffers from the same issue as Scouring of the Shire did just a few moments ago. Like it's so staged and it's so 80s, and it's just, I remember even seeing this artwork as a kid. I'm just like, that just doesn't look real, and it just doesn't, like that guy's obviously an actor in dressed in clothing, and someone just like painted an actor dressed in clothing. I don't, and that's someone's wedding dress. You know, I don't see Arwen or Galadriel or Baron and Luthien or Galadriel and Halbrand, whoever this is supposed to be. I don't see those characters. I see actors playing stage dress up, and that's just me. And I will not be voting for this. Let's open the floor.
Well,
My gosh.
I would not go. The other one had a cheese factor that made me like it. This one does not have a cheese factor that makes this, actually, to be honest, it doesn't even look Lord of the Rings ish to me. Like, it looks random. It looks random fantasy. There's nothing about it. Just if you took off, or it's supposed to be because we're doing it. But if you took off the Gift of Galadriel and the people that did it and just said, where do you think this comes from? At Comic-Con, you're going to get just random fantasy from most people. It just doesn't speak that. The other one, the other one looked much better to me. I like the design and the colors and the artistic nature of the other one. Just right here, I think this is a very cool. It looks like a pencil drawing, maybe, or something. It's hard to tell, obviously, with what we're looking at right here, but
Yeah.
it just looks like a really cool pencil drawing. I like the use of colors and how they were able to make it all kind of just, I don't know. I'm not an artsy person, so somebody in the chat's going, "This guy's an idiot." But I just like the nature
about
of
me,
how.
I think.
But I liked it. It's a very cool. I would. This is the type of thing that if I would not mind having in my art collection. This particular piece right here, the Gandalf at your service. I think that's a very cool little print, and I wouldn't mind having that myself.
And to follow that up, Josh, I mean, this feels so in line with the new video game Tales of the Shire. Like the color scheme and the colorscape and the shape of the Hobbit hole and the dirt road. I mean, this is what we saw in that game preview, Tales of the Shire, coming out later this year. This feels like it might have been a part of the inspiration of that video game. Also, you know, when you get to look up close on the character, I mean, Bilbo just looks like Bilbo's face looks like one of Mr. Rogers' puppets, and it's so charming and endearing to me. When you get a close up of this tomorrow, when you're voting.
Now that you said it, now I can't not see Lady Elaine Fairchild, and how dare you?
You guys.
All right, Cliff, rebut me on the Hildebrandt brothers. Why should people care?
Well, I have a quick question before you answer. The Gift of Galadriel. I'm assuming that this is Aragorn. So what is she giving him?
It's Halbrand.
It is not Halbrand. It's Aragorn. Don't ever do that again, Justin. My gosh. Okay, this is when Aragorn is being given the brooch.
Yes.
The brooch that she gives him. There is, if you're familiar with the Brothers Hildebrandt, they did photograph a subject, and they would paint from the photography. So, yeah, they did have models or family members who would pose in full-on Renaissance fair costumes, and they would be lit in a certain way, and then they would take command of their paintbrushes and recreate. This is one of the best examples of chiaroscuro that we're going to get today. And the use of lighting is incredible, just like a lot of people in the live chat have mentioned. It is super 70s. It can't be, I mean, there on the ground is the reforged sword of Anduril, and Aragorn is, you know, like, they're about to leave Lothlorien, but there's this deep field, deep focus this deep focus in the background, and that's all Avon Earl, and it is very, very much like the backgrounds of background paintings in Sleeping Beauty.
Yes, it
Um,
is. Yeah.
and I just love it. I love everything about the Hildebrandt brothers. I love their use of light and shadow, which is particularly striking in this 1973 piece. It's also famous from being in Tolkien 12-month wall calendars. Um, and I don't know, there's something about it's, it is somewhat religious. It's almost like I'm looking at religious iconography in a way. The way that Aragorn kneels before her and the way that she's lit. And it's just, there's something about it. It's kind of like there's a religion concept here. I don't know how else. And maybe that's because I've seen so many famous artworks that are inspired by great moments of religious storytelling and religious mythology. But they went all in here with this, and it's like, yeah, it's true. Yeah, so subjective. That's right, James says in the live chat. It's all very subjective. I love this stuff. I don't know why Justin is so harsh against the Hildebrandt brothers.
I
Like,
You know what
I
I'm
think
noticing in the forest? Is you've got that white tree next to her.
Huh?
You see these very tall trees, but if you look off just over his head in the background, you'll see two more of the similar of these white trees that are very slender and lower in the ground. But you see,
Mm-hmm.
there's at least four of them in the picture.
Yep.
So
yeah.
I love the variance in what a
I don't
forest
know
looks
that the
like.
style of art works for me. I think that's part of it. But Cliff, maybe because you've been a fan of this longer than I have been. It's obviously, like I said, was coming in from the movies. But I wonder for myself or others like me, if seeing so much art over the last, I mean, we're coming up on 25 years since Fellowship came out.
Oh my God.
I wonder if having seen so much art tied to the films has impacted, I think, people like me, where like this just feels super cheesy in a way that's not appealing necessarily, because I think I wonder for a certain section of the fandom if you're really into it, because that was what you saw up until going into you know Peter Jackson's adaptations and stuff. Because I think that's part of it. The other thing for me is the other piece, while doesn't look like what you see behind me, obviously coming straight from the film, this feels more like, one, I like the art style more. I'll say that. That's obviously, as I said earlier, this more feels like something that would be tied to this in what's in my head at this point, versus the Hildebrandt stuff, which I have seen before, over the last 25 years or so. But just something about it just feels kind of like a weird cheesiness that doesn't have the laugh factor that makes me want to vote for Scouring the Shire. If any of that makes sense, Cliff, you can tell me if that
Yeah,
does or not.
it totally makes sense. I totally get it. I would like to feature the original 1989 graphic novel of The Hobbit that David Wenzel created, published by Eclipse Books. This is it. This, one of my great
Nice.
collector's items. This is the original David Wenzel, part one of three. There is a collected edition of them, all three put together, but this is just the very first one, back in 1989 when this was published. This is adapted by Charles Dixon and illustrated by David Wenzel. And yeah, his use of colored pencils and watercolor is just really gorgeous. It's lovely.
Yeah, I like
This
the
is
cover on that.
Yeah, this is really super cute stuff. And excuse me, it's cute, it's charming, and I love his style. But I would have, this is a really tough vote for me because I'm a collector. I love David Wenzel, but the brothers Hildebrandt, I would have thought that Justin would be more forgiving because of their famous version B quad poster for Star Wars that they did for Fox when the very first Star Wars movie came out in '77. I thought Justin would be a fan of the Hildebrandt brothers. Guess not. Oh well.
I
Go to the
remember going
table.
to the Hildebrandt. I remember going to the
It,
Hildebrandt studios in Santa Monica back in, it was either just before or just after Fellowship came out, and they had an opening of show off all of their Middle Earth artwork. And you could just wander through each of the rooms and just look at it. And they were both still alive at the time,
All
which
right.
was very cool.
So
But I
Kathy,
do remember of an art form that I like the Hildebrand brothers, but they're not my favorite. It's not my aesthetic.
so which one are you voting for here?
Probably Gandalf at your service.
All right, Josh Long.
Yep, Gandalf at your service. Like I said,
Josh Rube.
I understand the appeal to the other one, but the Gandalf at your service. I just really like the design of it and the use of the colored pencil and watercolor and stuff.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go with Cliff here and just stand up for the Hildebrandt brothers here, because they are some of my favorite Tolkien illustrators. Having said that, I don't feel that the Gift of Galadriel is the best demonstration of their work. Like
Yeah,
it's
I think you're right on that.
it's a it's a very beautifully composed picture. And I mean, all of the Hildebrandt brothers' work does have this kind of stagey, over dramatic style to them. But I don't feel that this one is the strongest of that. Like, I feel like Gandalf fighting the Balrog is a great one. Eowyn fighting the Witch King is another great image. They have a great hero shot of the full Fellowship that I just adore.
Well, didn't
Um,
they also have one of the of all the dwarves from the Hobbit?
Yeah, but we're not
They have
voting
one
on
of the
those.
full.
We're not voting on any
We
of
realize
those.
that.
we're
We realize that.
we're not voting on those, and I realize like we're voting on like one picture from one artist, and this was the picture that was decided would be representative of the Hildebrandt brothers.
It's
So
representative
I
of
am
groups and montages.
yeah
This isn't this.
yeah
You're not
groups
voting for an entire artist library. You're voting for
right.
a group picture. So
And I would argue that the Hildebrandt brothers have better group images than this.
Yes.
With that in mind, like I'm gonna have to go with Gandalf at your service just because it's a lovely, simple, bright, colorful, whimsical picture that I love like Gandalf sort of like stooping down to speak to Bilbo, which like I don't think Ian McKellen ever did in the movies unless like he had to because of the environment. So
all right, Cliff.
I
Yeah.
yeah.
What are you gonna vote for?
My vote is for the Hildebrandt brothers. Easy peasy.
You're the only one that likes '70s porn stashes.
Stop it. Stop it.
And just for the record, it is once again 4-1 on the cheesy '80s realistic depiction. Scouring the Shire lost its last effort as well. So you guys
But
can
just
talk
like us-
all you want about the quality of the work and everything else, but no one's gonna vote for this.
Like that may be,
You're
but
wrong.
like I
You're
will
wrong.
just like
We'll
Scouring
see.
of the
There will be
Shire,
people who will.
I am still going to defend the Hildebrandt brothers and I'm going to defend their work and their style and speak for them, even though in the end I would not vote for them just based on the competition. But that
I get that.
doesn't diminish the quality of their work in my eye.
Thank you
Fair
very
enough.
much.
Fair enough. All right. Our last contest in this grouping of groups and montages. You have two illustrations. This is a definite illustration. You have what I would term an ink and relief artwork. It's you could definitely take the one on the left and see it as even redone as a relief sculpture. Which versus a very intricately detailed ink illustration of
This is another
prints.
tough grouping.
This one is really tough.
Right. So,
Yeah.
who wants to start? Cliff, go ahead and start on In the Barrel. Why is this tough?
I mean, both of these pieces are incredible. There's detail upon detail upon detail, and you know, the kind of discipline that it takes. And I love this artist. I can't pronounce their name, Matej Kadil. I'm sure I've done that wrong, but I love their work, and I love the specificity of the layout. This is, in terms of design, the layout is a complete success. It's exactly the way that the professor described it in the book. The way that the sword is lying across the necks of Samwise, Meriadoc, and Peregrine. It's amazing. And all the other strange objects and artifacts and little bits of treasure that are all there. And that evil, evil, horrible, ghoulish hand coming into the frame to reach for the sword across their necks. It's exactly the way Tolkien described it, and I love it. But
Oh yeah.
I also love the hyper detail of the trees, the two Ents, or maybe there's many Ents in that image.
There's
But
4.
Yeah, it looks like there's 4 or 5 in there.
there's just so much going on in both of these. So I really have I have a hard time choosing, but I agree. TD Matthew is with me in the chat. The composition of In the Barrow is just nuts. It's just
Yeah.
nuts. It's exactly the
Yeah.
way I visualized it in my mind when I read it as a boy. Love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like,
And it looks
yeah,
like they're standing, but they're not. They're laying down because you can see
that
on the
that's
sides
what
the
I
shelving.
love. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I love about this picture is that it's top down perspective. And so like and and so it creates this wonderful illusion of like what angle are you actually looking at this from? And it's only if you like like the text that you can see like, oh, this is them lying down as opposed to like something a little bit more abstract. And I love that. This is like it's like those interesting videos where people will be lying down, but they'll be like interacting with their environment in such a way that it looks like they're sort of like standing up and defying gravity in weird ways. And like
Yeah,
I
totally.
really love I love that perspective. And the Ents is so cool. Like it's like I want to like get a high res like a real high res image of this and just like really like just stare at the details because there's so much going on, but it
It
also
reminds
just
me of the Jimmy Cauty poster, doesn't it?
yeah.
Kind of.
But also
Yeah.
like I don't know why, but like I itch when I look at this picture of the Ents. Like it just it has a very itchy vibe to it. Just so weird.
Well, and their
But yeah,
faces are just fascinating. I mean, yeah, those Ents are. Let's put it this way: if you saw these Ents marching on Isengard, you would run. You
God,
know?
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. The one on the right has like the face of a dragon. The one in the
Yeah.
middle right, in kind of the middle ground. I mean, he looks like the lion from the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. There's definitely an inspiration here to not just make them have human faces, but have creature
Yeah.
faces, and really make them look fierce.
Well, and
And
I also like how they're just like so vaguely humanoid as opposed to like what we got in the movies where like I mean they're tree people, but it's like they really do have like this very humanoid style to them, whereas these Ents like some of them look more humanoid and some of them just look like they look like dragons or creatures or something like that. Like there's a very otherworldly quality to them.
Yeah.
I want
Trees
this
from
as a
space.
blacklight poster.
Oh God, yeah.
And the one right in the center looks like he's got a bird's nest in his
Yeah,
upper
Yeah.
left side there.
or a wasp nest, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Something scary and
Like
gross.
that'd make a good projectile.
Yes, it would. Oh my
Josh
gosh.
Long, where are you leaning toward on this contest?
Honestly, I don't care for either one of them.
Ooh.
I the if I had to pick one, I might have to go with In the Barrel, just because I think the forced perspective of trying to figure out, like Josh said, like, where are you looking at it from? I like that. I'll be honest, this feels like something you would see in an Indiana Jones movie. He's in some ancient temple and he sees the relief on the wall type thing. It doesn't feel Lord of the Rings to me. It feels more historical, which I guess I do like because I love history. It's one of my favorite subjects.
I think it's the way it's drawn is it literally does look like a
it
Renaissance
feels like
image.
it feels like a stone image. It really, honestly, to me, feels like I'm looking at a draw. Someone took a relief of a stone image. It's really cool in that aspect. So I probably would go with it from that way. The other one, even though it's done in 2014, just feels wildly like mid 1960s. Someone was on something when they drew it up and did it type thing, and that's really not my bag. Not that it's bad. It's not my thing. Um, so if I had to pick, I'd go with In the Barrel, just because of like I said, the historical feel that it has, even though it doesn't scream Middle Earth to me. I
Seems
just think it's really
medieval.
well done, and
Yeah.
yes, it does. It's really cool, and I would vote for it for that reason. It feels historically done in for a real thing, not necessarily for Lord of the Rings. If any of that crazy makes sense.
Meanwhile, the Ents feel like heavy metal. I mean, let's just
it just something about it just doesn't. I don't know. It just feels. It's like, I don't know. It's weird. It's just weird to me. I can't do it.
Let's go to the tape. I mean, like you can see this. Man, Pinterest is just terrible, isn't it, nowadays? But if you look at actual logos from heavy metal bands, they all look like that.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
And by the way, many of these bands are huge Tolkien fans, and their names are inspired by Tolkien. So looking at Amon Amarth right there.
And there's Gorgoroth in the lower left.
Yeah. So look,
Yeah.
it's just, that's what I'm talking about. Like these heavy metal is as Tolkien as medieval sculpture, right? And heavy metal has its place in Tolkien fandom, and it was incredible to finally have heavy metal music in Rings of Power Season 2, because I feel like it's an underserved, under-recognized part of Tolkien's inspiration. So, you can trace, there's a dotted line between all these heavy metal logos and this style of artwork
From Ian Miller. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, well, Josh, Elisar, it's funny that you're like, this is a 2014 piece that looks like it was from 45 years ago. It's wild.
Yeah, it really does to me. Feels like it came from a different time period, and maybe that's what the artist was trying to do. And if they did, they were very successful. And for people watching this that like it, I feel, again, I'm not trying to like take a dump on it or anything. It's just it doesn't work for me visually if when you're comparing it to the other one. For like I said, for the reasons I stated, I think it's probably a very well done piece. It just, for me, it's just too wildly in left field, where the other, with the In the Barrel, even though it doesn't feel Lord of the Rings to me, it feels historical, and I could see it in a history book talking about something that happened in during something medieval of some place in Europe or whatever.
All right, well, you got Josh's vote here. Let's go to Rubenstein. Which one are you voting for?
I mean, I'm gonna have to vote for In the Barrel.
All right, that's two for In the Barrel.
Beautiful picture, yeah.
Kathy?
Well, I'm totally for In the Barrel. And I'm going to step away for a moment and get some cough syrup and some water, because I've got a cold, and I'm just going to go deal with that for a moment. So I'm going to step away for just a minute while you guys finish this.
And Cliff, final vote on this round?
Oh, it's a tough one. These are both really, really cool pieces. And both of them show rigorous discipline on the artist's behalf to get all these details on both of these. But I will lean towards voting for In the Barrow.
Wow.
I just wish I knew how to pronounce the artist's name properly.
I'm gonna go for
Sigh.
heavy metal. Again, under recognized part of Tolkien fandom, and I just love. I think it's been very hard to get good Ents. Peter Jackson,
Yeah.
Alan Lee, John Howe did a great job with their Ents. There have been some other Ents that have been kind of good. A lot of Ents I don't like, but these Ents are so original. And so
Yeah.
wonder and a lot of time was spent on both of these pieces of art. So there you go. I'm the odd man out on Ents. Well, that is the end of our first bracket
Wow. Yes.
for Middle Earth March Madness. That was just one bracket for groups and montages. We hope we've given you some food for thought and different ways to appreciate these artworks, because a lot of them are different styles, right? And so our goal here is to tell you why these are significant, why you should know about some of these artists, why you may not know some of these artists, and their significance in the historical record of Tolkien fandom. And of course, one of the reasons Cliff is so knowledgeable about this is because he documented a lot of these artists in his documentary Ringers, Lord of the Fans.
And believe it or not, we did an entire segment. The longest and maybe the most entertaining segment is about all the heavy metal bands and the rock and rollers and the musicians and rock artists who were inspired by Tolkien. So I don't know if it was terribly overlooked. It's actually a very big, an intrinsic part of Tolkien fandom is the relationship with rock and roll and heavy metal bands. And Bear McCreary can do no wrong. I'll just say that. Now,
your microphone's a little scratchy.
we've
there.
lost
We're
your
not-
microphone power
yeah,
there,
we're-
Garth.
We're not picking that up. But so, based on this took a long time to go through just that one quadrant. We've got 3 more categories, as you can see here on screen. We've got 3 more categories to go. So Kirsten and Jim have a lot of great details. They've done a lot of research, and I feel like it would be unfair to not include them because you guys need to be as well informed a voting block as possible. So I think what we're going to do is over the next 3 days, we're going to have a different live stream each day for a different category, and we're going to try to include Jim and Kirsten and whoever else we can. That way we can go in a deep dive in each of these categories, because some of this artwork demands a lot of discussion, and you can see we just spent 3 hours just doing one bracket.
Each one of these pieces of art is going to elicit. It can't be encapsulated, I don't think, in a short response if we're being fair to the art and the artist. From any of us talking, I mean, we all are very passionate. We all can get long-winded talking about this because we care about it so much. But I think to be fair to the art and the artist, on something in a particular bracket like this, I think doing a show for each section makes sense, just simply because of that. Because we need to be able to elaborate why we like something versus going, I like it, it's pretty, and then moving on type thing. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, totally. Well, we've got 2 surprises for you, folks. Several of the artists have said that they are available in the coming week or 2 to jump on and have a brief discussion about their art and their influences and their passion for Tolkien. So I was gonna tease you guys, but I think that would stack the vote. So I'm not gonna tell you which artists have agreed pending schedules. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm just gonna tell you that vote with your heart, vote with your mind, and vote with your eyes. Because based on where the voting ends up going, we might be able to talk to some of these artists and maybe reveal that they won a certain category for this round over the next coming rounds. So that's really exciting. Second big announcement, and I'm really, really excited. You might have seen this on other channels, but guys, I'm happy to announce that Warner Brothers Home Entertainment has given us 20 copies of The War of the Rohirrim on Blu-ray and 4K to give away. And we're going to use Middle-earth March Madness to give them away.
This is exciting. So exciting.
You got...
Oh my gosh. I want the 4K ultra high def. I want it so badly, but I'm not eligible to win. I'm going to be giving it away. Justin, what is our methodology here for the giveaway? How do we do this?
Well, we've got some ideas, and we thought today's show is too stacked to do it. So we're working on a way, but I want to make everybody that votes can have a chance to win. Maybe we'll find some ways where you can text the hotline during one of our future shows. You saw the phone number in the corner. Maybe we'll do some trivia, and you can text the hotline, and we'll announce a winner in real time. So we'll be giving away copies of the wonderful War of the Rohirrim, and it only made sense to give away 20 copies of this wonderful movie because it is hand drawn. And Cliff, we don't get hand-drawn animation anymore. And this year's theme is all about artists.
I love it. Otaku Senpai in the chat said that they've already got their hands on the Steelbook edition, which is very exciting. I love Steelbook editions of anime films. There's a whole entire reissue of Studio Ghibli and Miyazaki films and Takahata films, all in steelbooks. So I'm very excited about collecting those. And yeah, we're going to celebrate artistry, and it's all about representational art. And I'm a big fan of animation. It's one of my favorite things in the whole universe is the art form of animation in all of its history. And it's such a difficult thing to make. It is always harder to do than any other type of film production. And it's so satisfying. It's just so cool. So yeah, I'm all about this. Otaku Senpai says the Steelbook includes 3 behind-the-scenes featurettes for the War of the Rohirrim. I'm very excited about this. Whoa. We're going to give them away as gifts. You guys are lucky. You guys are the lucky beneficiaries of this. We're just going to give these away.
So look for the link to start voting, but you don't feel that you have to vote for everything immediately. You've got 4 days, and so we're gonna highlight over the next 3 days. I think we're gonna highlight the other categories and the other pieces of art, so you can be a well-informed voting block. Because that's what we want. So don't feel that you have to vote for everything immediately, and make sure you follow theonering.net on all the socials, and we'll post a story on the main site with all the links and stuff like that, so you can view the high-res artwork yourself. And we'll publish probably tomorrow morning. We'll publish a streaming schedule so you guys can know to block out a portion of your day so you can take a look at artwork. And look, Katie was in the chat room today saying like she's supposed to be doing other projects, but she's paying attention to the stream because the artwork's so wonderful. That's right. This isn't background stuff. There was someone else was like watching this on their TV and like standing up and going up to the TV to get a closer look. You'll be able to get a closer look on the voting page tomorrow.
I get it. I'm leaning into my computer screen looking like people want to see my big old forehead while I'm trying to look at freaking pictures here. I look ridiculous. I'm trying to see.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the PDF and like zooming in on stuff so I can get a better look at stuff. There are so many images on here that we didn't get a chance to talk about that I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this so bad.
Somebody said it in the chat. There's just being mindful of how we talk about this, and that's what I was getting at earlier with from my point of view, is that even if the art doesn't speak to me, like say with that int piece a minute ago, the artwork that's done by these artists is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I respect the, you know, bleep out of all of their abilities because they're all so well done. I mean, I can't draw the stick figure, so I take that into account. But um, I think that's why I think a deep dive into each of these is really great because I think these artists deserve that for the work that they put out there. I think they've done some really amazing stuff, even if it doesn't speak to me on a personal level.
Even though you're close personal friends with some of these artists. But let's not get into that right
Even
now.
if I am, yes, I am very actually. Another person I should have mentioned on this too for that could have been in here, but yeah, obviously being friends with Jerry and stuff and everything, I have a strong weight towards his art, but yeah, I mean,
I
there's just a
know
lot of really great art in
it's
this. I
it's
mean,
hard to choose. I'm
yeah,
friends with at least two of these 64 artists, like, in the real world, and
yeah, exactly.
it's I gotta vote from some sense of loyalty to my friendship, but also
Hmm.
I'm fascinated by how much effort it took everybody to put this curation together, to put
Yeah,
together so many artists and possibilities and whittle it down to these 64. What a gargantuan task to do that. I'm very impressed. I love all of the beautiful people at the OneRing.net who put this together. It's so great.
Well, we're
Um,
gonna work on the schedules. I know people in the chat were like, "When are you gonna do this?" Torn Tuesday is usually at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. But with this
yes,
special thing, we're gonna work on with everybody's schedule. We're still figuring out everybody's schedule. It might be earlier in the afternoon, and we might do it at noon. I don't know. We're still figuring out the schedules, but once we figure out everybody's schedule, because we want to have everybody be able to share with you all of the research and the valuable
yeah,
insights that
yes.
a lot of people have, and hopefully we can loop in some of the artists and some other fans as well. But I want to thank Jim and Kirsten and Kathy and both Joshes here, and of course Clifford Broadway for taking us home here.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, everybody. Thank you to the two Joshes and Garfe Mao. We should do a quick programming note. WonderCon, yes, it is coming up. It's very, very, very soon. In fact, it's right around the corner. We have Friday, Tolkien Reading Day, and then we have a big Saturday panel presentation. Um, my goodness, come to Anaheim. If you guys are in California or you want to drive over from Vegas, if you're nearby, come and join us and hang out with us all weekend long at the Anaheim Convention Center at WonderCon. We will be rocking and rolling, and it's going to be fabulous. Trust me. Now, I also want to say, Justin, you are awesome. Thank you for putting all of this together so that we can visually come to grips with this wide array of artists. We get to do it a whole day early before the voting opens up tomorrow. So thank you for working with the online streaming thing, which is not always easy to do. Thank you very much, Justin, for helping us put this show
Expected
together.
Soundscape is in the chat room right now, so we would be remiss to plug his thing.
One
Cliff.
more thing that I was going to mention, absolutely. I did notice that Jordan Rennells, who is an amazing, talented musician, and he has such a great voice, he is here in the chat with us again. He's come back in. Welcome back, Jordan. This weekend, he is going to be broadcasting The Return of the King, which is being read by an army of volunteer readers. This amazing collection of people, many of them who you know in the world of Tolkien content creators and TikTokers, and even, Green Dragon and myself. We're going to be participants reading different sections of The Return of the King, being backed up by his absolutely glorious soundscape. And that is going to be broadcast this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So look up Jordan Rennells, look up A Long Expected Soundscape, and on his socials as well, he'll have all the details and the timings of these readings that are being broadcast. Jordan, let me know if I've got anything wrong, but we'll have you back on the show very, very soon. Yes, I'll see you there. He says I'll see you there, which means right after we're done with this broadcast, I need to keep the lights on and sit down and record for Jordan this whole. I'm reading from the Field of Cormallen, which is amazing stuff. It's such a great section of the story, and I love it. Noon Eastern. Yep, noon Eastern time this weekend. Yes, I know. I'm looking forward to my reading too. I haven't done it yet, so I'm way behind the 8 ball, so I better get in front of the camera and let's do it. You guys follow him and follow us, theonering.net. Come to our main page and you'll get more details about the voting and everything about the structure of Middle-earth March Madness. We'll have a huge story on the main page, and that will be backed up on all of our socials. Follow us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, streaming on YouTube, and my goodness, even our Discord. The best Discord in the world of Discord. Come and join us and have a great chat with the best. It is the best moderated Tolkien community Discord. It's wonderful, great stuff. So, join us there. Yes, thank you, Otaku Senpai. That's pretty cool. They'll be publishing a new starter set for the One Ring role-playing game set around Bree. Yeah, that's probably going to happen at WonderCon as well. I expect to see a lot of Lord of the Rings fans there at WonderCon. I'm so excited. And over the next few days, we'll bring more live discussions to you over these other quadrants in our crazy, wonderful March Madness bracket. We're on our way, everyone. Follow me personally on Blue Sky and Instagram at QuickBeam2000, and that's where I'm at. Thank you again, Josh and Justin and Kathy, who was here. She was wonderful. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, great night. And as I love to say at the closing of every show, good night and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye-bye, everybody. And thank you.